Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 168. We are back. We are live on Twitch, ready to stream to you guys tonight. Last week, we did a pre-recorded episode, one of GameFace's only 1080p episodes.
Yeah. Sam was too busy in paradise.
It made my life hell. I just want to say that.
Yeah, that was a long upload.
Oh my god, dude. Not only that, like I got back and I had to assemble the show. I didn't finish assembling the show until like 3 in the morning. And then there was 17 gigs.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big is it normally?
Usually the final episode is like 8 or 9 gigs. But that's in 720p.
Yeah, that resolution makes all the difference.
Yeah, and so usually I can set it to upload, and I get up the next day, and it's ready to go. Not the case with that episode. So
when do we start shooting in 4K?
Yeah, we could. These cameras are 4K, but yeah, oh my god. Like,
no one wants to see us
like
in 4K.
10 minutes is like 5 gigs or whatever. So, and nobody even mentioned or seemed to notice that it was a 1080p episode. Not a single comment was like, oh my god, 1080p. Whatever. So
no one's impressed by 1080p anymore. It's 2019.
Apparently not. It has to be 4K or bust at this point. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It was a ton of work. I think it came out pretty good ultimately. So we're back streaming here on Twitch. We'll be back for the foreseeable future. I think Sam's little 3-month-long semi-hiatus is over at this point.
Yeah, he's at that age where everybody's getting married.
Yep.
And
You always have stuff you got to do, and so I totally get it. But he should be back for a while. E3's coming up in just like 3 or 4 weeks, which is like mind-boggling. We'll get into a little bit of E3 stuff in this episode, but starting next week is when we'll really start ramping up the excitement for it. We'll start doing E3 previews for publishers and things like that to get you guys.
Should be hitting leak season.
What'd you say?
We should be starting to hit leak season.
Yeah, usually like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the shows.
Oh, there was some stuff like a month out before, like last year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Last year's had almost no surprises left by the time.
No, you're right. Actually, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. Hopefully, that doesn't happen this year. I like to have surprises. I think you guys like to have surprises, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Some bookkeeping stuff. We'll be drawing for the new Loot Crate this week, and in fact, once again, we'll be drawing 2 winners because we have the hardest time giving stuff away. I don't know what it is. One of the people who won the Loot Crate from the last drawing, we gave him all month to respond. He's not responded. So we're going to give that one away, plus we just got a new one yesterday. So look for that in the next couple days. We'll be picking the winners for that. And again, that's for the people who are pledging at 20 or more per month. So thanks to those people, and someone is going to be a winner here in the next couple days. In fact, 2 people are going to be winners. If you're watching this show on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate it. Hopefully you have ad blocker turned off so we actually make a penny off each one of you that watch it. And that's literally what it is. It's like a penny. But hopefully you have ad blocker turned off. And if not, if you are blocking ads, it would be great if you could help us out with Twitch Prime. The instructions are down below. The long and short of it is you can give us $2.50 for free every month as long as you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. So help us out. It would be awesome. It would be even better if you donated to our Patreon and pledged at our Patreon. That is money that we can count on, usually. And we can make decisions based upon that. The other stuff is like, it's different every month. We can't really count on the money, but with our Patreon, we generally can. So we'd appreciate it if you could check that out. Most importantly, this episode is brought to you by our sponsor. Yes, we have a sponsor. And I know you guys are probably all at the age where you're starting to think about buying your own house or buying some property, and that's exactly where our new sponsor comes in. DeShazer Realty has been leading Northwest Montana real estate sales for over 30 years. It's family owned and operated with the knowledge to help you find your own unique piece of Montana. Visit www.DeShazerMT.com, and there you will find every property currently listed for sale in Montana. Or you can call 406-293-7706 and ask for Doug to get the ball rolling. These pictures that you're seeing right now is an actual property that he is selling in Montana. Enjoy the breathtaking mountain views of Montana on 3.5 acres and less than 10 minutes from town. The property borders a county-maintained road with access to tons of wildlife. It's priced to sell at $39,900. And if you aren't able to relocate to God's country, don't worry, sifters. Doug DeShazer specializes in finding you the perfect real estate agent for the job, no matter where you live. He's facilitated home and land sales in California, Texas, Oregon, Washington, and many other states. feel free to email Doug with any questions at DeShazerMT@gmail.com. That's DeShazerRyanRealty@DeShazerRyanRealty.com.
Yeah. And I will say, as someone who got his realtor down here from a recommendation from another realtor up in San Francisco, don't sell the idea of realtors recommending other realtors short, because they know who's good.
They do, and they know who's bad too.
Like
they
that,
can scare you
and
away.
their networks go far and wide. So
Yep.
I would say, as someone with actual firsthand experience, like it probably is worth asking him, no matter where you're buying something.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a good realtor, it's always worth asking someone who's been established for as long as he has been.
Yep.
They know stuff.
Yeah, they do.
It's crazy.
And like I said last week, even if you already own a home, Montana is a great place to invest in real estate, because you can go there when you want to, and then you can rent the home out during the whole year. Now with Airbnb, it's even easier. So it's kind of a good way to build wealth if you're looking to do that. And as you heard from the price of the property, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah. And when the water wars begin, it's going to still be a pretty temperate climate up there, so it's going to be good.
That's true. All right, let's get on with the show proper. We're going to start things off with Days of Play. And I keep calling this something else, Days of Games or something. I don't know why. Sony has some
no
other...
UB days.
Oh, I keep calling it State of Play.
State of Play, yeah.
Yeah, instead of Days of Play.
Was
State of Play is
called
something
that?
else.
Is it something else?
Yeah, that's why I keep getting it confused. But anyway, Days of Play is Sony's take on the Nintendo Direct. Let's just be honest. They basically stole the idea from Nintendo, and they're doing pre-produced video segments as replacements for press conferences. The first one was a huge disappointment. The second one, not so much, Matt.
More stuff.
Yeah, a lot more stuff and a lot more high-profile stuff. And we're not going to bury the lead here. We're going to talk about, hands down, the biggest game that they showed, and that was the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It had been, 2 years since we had a look at this?
Yeah, this is State of Play.
State of Play.
Yeah, Days of Play is
Days of Play is
like an event they do.
okay.
There's going to be a limited edition PlayStation, but they announced Days of Play, that stuff, during the State of Play.
Right. Okay.
So
Whatever.
maybe, I don't know, different words.
Yeah, it might be a good
Sony.
idea. But regardless, I would argue that the second edition of this delivers. The first new footage.
What was the first? I don't even remember the first one.
Exactly. It was bad. It had like 2 or 3 videos in it, and none of them were for games that people cared about all that much. Definitely a different case with this one. Arguably, probably top 5 most anticipated games right now, period.
You mean Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, the remake.
Keep anticipating.
Yeah, we keep on
Long
anticipating.
way out.
And as you can see, the video's already over because they only released 51 seconds of new footage.
It's only been 5 years.
Yeah.
Give him time.
So apparently it's going to be episodic still.
Yeah.
We're going to get more information at E3. So I'm assuming in Square Enix's press conference, because Sony's not having one, and as of right now, it remains a PS4 exclusive, it sounds like.
Until it ends up on the PS5.
Right. Well, yeah. But
I'm sure that's pretty much means the same thing, though.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. What struck you about this new footage, if anything?
Well, it looks like they definitely, it was hinted at in the previous footage, but like back in the announcement, but it looks like they really are just going straight up. They're just taking the Final Fantasy 15 combat system and sort of grafting it onto this, which is too bad. Looks nice. I'm curious, because as someone who doesn't really think Final Fantasy VII is all that good, I'm curious to see if this is any better in the sense that if you take that story and don't run it through like a 1997 era localization translation filter and like use like modern localization vernacular. If you make it a little more, and also like with characters that have fingers and mouths, like I felt like the stylization of the original did not do it any favors. The MIDI was terrible. It was screechy and weird, despite the fact that it's one of the best soundtracks in the series.
And despite the fact it was on CD-ROM.
Yeah, it was weird. But like, I'd be interested to see sort of like, this is more of a retelling of the story with like kind of the production values to do it justice, or at least the scale of it justice, because I felt like it was struggling against sort of the pre-rendered little screen-by-screen thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't able to get as large in scope as I think they were trying to be, and I think you got a better taste of that in Final Fantasy VIII, which I know people don't like, but like the way the backgrounds could move while the characters were moving, and like that battle between the gardens
Give you
where
a
everything
sense
was
of depth
yeah, it really felt like it got the scale that 7 was going for, but just couldn't because it wasn't, they just didn't have the tech there yet.
Yeah.
And so I'd be interested to see. I'm interested to see what that is, what this becomes.
Do you think it'll be like a word for word I don't either. Like, I feel like they're gonna have to truncate a lot of stuff.
No, I feel like it's gonna be bigger.
Really?
I feel like they have to if they're gonna make 3 games out of this thing. Like, I mean, I don't know where they're gonna split the different episodic things, but I feel like this thing's got to be expanded tremendously. Like,
so you think it's gonna be something that just lives on for like 15 years or something?
No, but I think they're gonna do I think they're gonna maybe more or less break it up in terms of discs. There was 3 discs.
Right.
So I think I would expect the first game to take you to the end of where they leave Midgar, and the second would be chasing Sephiroth around, and then like the third one would be like the final push up to the pole.
Right.
And but I think you have to make each individual episode a satisfying kind of arc. You have to it's already pretty much there for the first the Midgar part is sort of its own self-contained story in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that's advantageous to them because you can kind of pretty much sort of graft the whole Midgar story into one like episodic full game, and you can kind of get away with that. It's a cliffhanger, but like it still feels like a whole story.
I mean, that's what you want in episodic games, though.
But it still feels like you were told a whole story. Like the Midgar, but when they leave Midgar, you feel like you've kind of got everything's kind of happened, and like you feel pretty. Okay, good. End of disc 1, we've done it. It's an act 1, but it also had its own internal story, and it works. I think they're going to have to do a lot more work to make the second and third parts, assuming they're doing 3, but they might do more, who knows. They're going to have to do more work to make the more open world stuff feel more satisfying in that regard. But I think you can expand all that stuff, all this stuff where you get the different party members out in the world can be much more involved and kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be word for word at all. I think they're going to be. You don't build like that giant city with all those people running around without like expanding out the entire city and giving you more places to explore. I mean, if they're doing it right, I mean, I don't know, with Square Enix, they could always just bunt.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it seems to me if you were going to make this game the way it appears to be and cover the entire plot of that game and it's episodic, it literally could take like 10 years.
Could. I mean, just the fact that it's 3 games and they're supposedly pretty big game, like full-size games. Square Enix doesn't do shit overnight.
Yeah.
Like this, you really could be not playing the end of. I know people that are like, "Oh, I'm not going to play it until they finish all the episodes and release it in a physical version in one big thing." I'm like, I'll see you in 2028. Like I don't
playing it in a nursing home.
Like this thing's going to take a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to think though that the first episode or 2 might be coming this year.
That seems optimistic, but
so?
I would maybe not be surprised by the end of fiscal, so maybe early next year.
Because it has been like 5 years.
Yeah, but they kind of started over when they moved it in-house again.
I'm assuming they didn't throw everything away though.
I don't know. All those character models are different.
They are different.
Like they changed a lot.
Yeah. Do you like it better? The change? Do you think the changes were good?
Yeah, I think so. Like the premiere stuff like felt like it was a little too slavish to Nomura's original designs with the pointier noses and stuff like this, and kind of like more pallid skin. And I think the new footage, I think they look more like actual people.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I think it is an improvement.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do think though that this year I think we're going to see something.
I would hope so, considering they did this and then they're going to talk about it again at E3. Like if you're not announcing a release date for at least the first episode. Period. I mean, never mind even if it's this year. Like, you got to tell us when this comes out.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's next year, at least we have a date to look forward to being delayed.
Yeah, because I wouldn't blame anybody for wondering before this if the game was ever coming at all.
Oh yeah.
It's
been forever.
That's totally understandable. That someone might think that, but here it is. We got another 51 seconds of footage.
Although it is notable that like all the footage is only from the very first literal very first scene in the game.
Which is why, again, I think that they're concentrating on getting that first part of the game done, and then maybe they move on, which is why I think that there's a chance that we could see first episode maybe in the fall.
I mean, I would hope that the episodes, I mean, they've talked about how they're going to be full games. Like, I think they're going to try to charge full price for these things. I think you're going to pay $180.
Oh, people will pay it.
That's exactly why they're doing it.
They'll pay
I don't see any reason why this has to be episodic.
I don't either.
I think you can. I mean, it'd be a big project and it'd be a lot of work. It'd take longer, but I don't see any reason you need to make this 3 games. Like open world like epic scale cinematic RPGs come out all the time.
The other thing, too, about doing episodic is it kind of changes everything. So, inevitably, in a story, you have parts where you're traveling or you're with a group of people, and it's very hard to create any type of tension or, as you had said, a cliffhanger when there are those moments in every story. So, inevitably, you end up having a couple episodes, and in fact, the latest episode of Life is Strange 2 is like this, where it's like nothing happens. They're just hanging out and they're talking, and you have to have it. It's important, and it develops characters, but it doesn't exactly get you excited to plunk down your cash for that next episode either. So
middle acts are hard.
They are hard, particularly when you're trying.
All writing is hard.
Yeah.
But middle acts are tough because, like, when you're doing a self-contained thing like that, because you can come away from it feeling like you're not. And TV shows have that problem too. Like the middle episodes of seasons often sag, especially when you're not driving towards a conclusion or something. Like you just got or like it's like how people. It's like kind of like how I see Thor: The Dark World. It's like issue 17 of a ongoing comic series. Like nothing important happens, nothing exceptional occurs, but an issue had to come out that month.
Yeah,
it's like it can feel like that. Although even like Life is Strange 2, as I understand it, it's going to matter later.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hopefully most people have subscribed to the whole thing and they don't have to think about whether to buy the next one or not. I think that's what they're counting on.
And I think that's absolutely what will happen with this.
Yeah. Well, I think you're guaranteed sales on this no matter what.
Yeah,
just because
for sure.
You've got this built-in fandom for it and this thirst for it. Unless they completely screw it up and the first one's terrible, which it could be. Like, I don't know.
True.
Like, I hope they...
I mean, depending on your impressions of Final Fantasy 15, that's a very real possibility.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, I think Final Fantasy 15 is one of the worst things I've played this generation. I don't really think that... I'm not really bringing that opinion to this.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, ironically, because I also don't really like Final Fantasy 7, but I think Final Fantasy 7 is just sort of an average game, especially after 6, which is still the best Final Fantasy. They're never going to top it, just accept it.
I think most people agree with you.
A lot of people definitely agree with that, but the only PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy I have any sort of affection for is 9.
I thought 9 was great.
Yeah, which is because it kind of came back to the roots a little bit. It stopped being more. It became less like a response to the popularity of Evangelion and became more about let's do Final Fantasy again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. Like it really did. Like
they really changed him.
Oh yeah, well they had to.
He almost doesn't even look black anymore.
Barrett?
Yeah.
Well, I mean he is.
In the new footage, though, I mean, he looks it there in the old stuff. In the new footage, though, he almost looks white.
Does he?
Yeah. Sam, if you could roll that first trailer that's in the rundown there. But yeah, they changed him the most of any character from the first time we saw this game to the second time. They have definitely lightened his skin, without a doubt, compared to the initial footage that they showed. But
well, I definitely wouldn't.
They show a close-up of his face here in a second, and you can pause it right there. It's too late.
I think it's just the lighting.
I don't know, man.
I can see he's very clearly brown.
He looks pretty close to white to me. If you looked at that other footage, he was very clearly brown.
I think that's just lighting.
Yeah, they changed his whole model though. Yeah, well, his facial structure, everything.
Well, they got to change a lot about him to get to do that. Because, I don't think walking, talking Mr. T stereotype is really going to fly. At the very least, I don't think he's going to talk the same.
I still love Mr. T.
I love Mr. T, but I just don't think 1997 version of Barrett's going to fly.
Probably not. Particularly the version that was created in Japan during different times.
But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how they make a story. Because a lot of those old RPG stories only really worked because they were text. Yeah. And you could kind of make them make sense in your head. Yeah. And or at least make the lines work. So how they are going to pull it. Because I've never been impressed by any of the more cinematic level stuff they've done with Final Fantasy VII. Certainly Advent Children is one of the biggest piles of nonsense I've ever seen. The visuals are amazing, really cool, but it doesn't make any sense. Crisis Core was nonsense. We'll see. I don't know. I'd like to think that they're expanding it and making it into something a really more a kind of exploration of the world and more of an immersive experience. But I
honestly would have been okay if it was turn-based.
Oh, I
would
totally
not have hated that at all.
No,
if
not
they
at all.
Remade the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why they seem to think that remaking this game has to turn into like this crazy like
Action RPG. I don't get it.
Like I don't know. It didn't have to be this hard.
It really didn't. And it would have. You're right. It would. The development would have went a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
In fact, it might have been out by now.
Yeah. Like in all like all you needed to really do was make Final Fantasy VII look like Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, pretty much. Done.
Like everyone would have been fine. With that.
Reap the profit.
Yeah.
It could have been easier.
Like no one asked you to turn it into like Mass Effect.
Yeah.
You know, like it's weird.
It is weird. And that was one of the things I thought they might change when they kind of rebooted the whole project, but nope.
No, it feels like Square is really shying away from like a turn-based idea. Like it's I mean, I'm not a huge like proponent of keeping things turn-based if you don't have to, but I just don't see where you're going to improve
Make
things
the game better.
Here. It's like I don't think the people that have wanted a remake of that game forever
hated
had
the
that in
turn-based
mind.
combat.
When they,
Exactly.
Like if you loved that game enough that you want to play it again in a new form 20-some years later, you're probably not. But you know what I would like to change about it? The base element of how it plays. It's like that's probably not.
Probably not a good move. All right. Next up, Predator Hunting Grounds, a asymmetrical multiplayer Predator game. The teaser for this is literally like 20 seconds long, so they didn't show much of it. It is a PS4 exclusive. It's being published by Sony, which I found to be kind of strange. Does Sony Pictures own the rights to Predator?
No, Fox did, and so now Disney does.
Interesting. I'm wondering how or why Sony locked down this IP.
I don't know. But it seems like, I mean, they've got the music from the movie in the trailer, which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested. I mean, obviously we don't really know anything yet, but...
No, just what I said. That's pretty much all we know. Oh, and I think it's coming in 2020, I think they said. But otherwise, that's all we know.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like maybe it's kind of the Predator take on Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It looks like it's going to be one of those digital-only releases that you download for $25 or $30 or something like that. But it is good to see Sony announcing a new PS4 game. I'll say that much. We don't get those very often anymore, as we're starting to wind down PS4 and get ready for PlayStation 5.
And multiplayer focused at that.
Yep.
That's unusual for them.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, and this is the game that probably impressed me the most of all the ones that they showed, and it's called Away, the survival game. Horrible name. And when I tell you the premise of it, you're probably going to think it's really stupid. You play as a sugar glider, which is basically a squirrel that can fly, for lack of a more scientific description. And it may seem silly, but this isn't your typical play as an animal in the wilderness game that your kids are going to play. This is like survival of the fittest, Darwinism, real terror, real intense situations as you play as this little creature in a big world full of predators. I thought it was the most interesting thing that was shown during this, and no one else agreed with me because it did terrible on SIFTD as far as views is concerned. But this game, to me, what was that one game that came out not long ago? You didn't play it. Did you play as a crab? It was a Wii game.
You mean Deadly Creatures?
Yeah, Deadly Creatures.
Scorpion and the Tarantula?
Yeah. That's the game I was thinking of.
Yeah, that wasn't a survival game, but like, it had that sort of animal eye view of a heist gone wrong with Billy. What was it? Billy Bob Thornton was in that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's right. Billy Bob Thornton and Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, they paid for these crazy voice actors.
And then, I mean, there is a scene in that game in which you, as the Scorpion, get to sting Dennis Hopper in the balls. It's a QTE.
Nice.
Like you
how else can you do it?
You crawl all over him and like you just sting him all over and like that's how you. It's like a boss battle. It's amazing. It's amazing. That game should be saved from the Wii. They should port that to the Switch.
Yeah, remaster.
Yeah, remastered Deadly Creatures.
But this looks a little more serious. Certainly better production values than that game had.
Yes, a little bit.
It looks more fleshed out as well.
You play a cuter animal as well.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited about this game.
It looks interesting.
I feel like we don't get enough stuff like this.
I feel like most of the stuff like this is announced by Michel Gondry and then never comes out.
Right. Yeah. It's like this concept piece that never actually sees the light of day. So pleasantly surprised by that game. Pretty.
You know what I'd like
to
play? Maybe people remember this from like the old Apple IIe game days, but it was like one of the edutainment titles for it, and it was like you played as a T-Rex, and it was like a survival game where you just walked kind of to the right, and you had to keep,
Yeah, I do
you had to
remember
keep
that
it fed,
vaguely.
and you had
Yeah,
to drink, and you had to make sure you didn't fight things and get hurt.
It's like the first Tamagotchi.
Yeah, it was like a really hard survival. It was like you got killed real easy if you got wounded and like got infected. It was actually pretty detailed, but it was just like a 2D like kind of simulator game. I would love to play like a T-Rex simulator like that, like where you have to be a predator and choose your fights and not
a bad idea.
not get hurt. And if you get hurt, like you know, if you get hurt and die before you get to breed, because if you I would do it like if you die, you live on in the offspring of your animal.
Yeah.
And then like if you die before you can mate, like game over. Like your save gets erased.
Yeah. Well, also your species gets erased.
Well, just you. And then if you last long enough, you get to see the meteor land.
And watch everything die. Yeah, also with Patrice Desolate's Ancestors of Humankind Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a similar sort of angle but you're playing as primates trying to evolve basically.
Yeah.
Into
I mean, the real trick on this one is like sugar gliders are adorable.
They are.
And they can glide.
Yeah.
Which kind of really adds a more interesting game element.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not like something that I'm like calling my friends up about.
No.
But it's definitely something I'll keep an eye on. Like it's the most interesting survival game in the pipeline, I would say.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I normally don't like survival games.
We'll give out that award at E3. Most interesting survival game in the pipeline.
The sad thing is that's probably gonna be a really crowded category.
The sad thing is Patrice would come up to me at Pactor's party and like punch me in the mouth. So, okay, next up. This is a game that we did know about, but we got really the first look at it, and that's Medieval.
This has been announced for like 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
and all we had was that little, and we're going to end up seeing a little dinky teaser trailer, but this is the brand new story trailer they just put out. The initial teaser trailer they put out for it showed basically nothing. This really shows what they've been working on. I'm pretty impressed by this.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of the original? Yeah, that was one of those games that I feel like people force themselves to like it because they had nothing else to play.
There was nothing else happening at the time.
And my friends would be like, "Oh, I'm playing Medieval," and I'm like, "Why?"
It's sort of like how you had to like Blasto because it came out right near where Phil Hartman died.
Right.
And
You're like, well, I can't say this game sucks, right?
I like Blasto, okay, but it was like that period where Sony was really fumbling to find like kind of a mascot like for the PlayStation that matched up to anything. It was like the one place they were really falling short of Nintendo was sort of putting a face on their brand.
And they're just throwing anything against the wall.
It was that going up. They went for
Bubsy.
There was Bubsy. There was Oddworld to some degree.
Yep.
And in the end, you ended up with Crash Bandicoot. But
well,
you can't win them all.
Nope. You definitely can't. Not when you're talking about Crash. But look, Crash just was remade and it sold extraordinarily well. So
they definitely had their audiences.
There's some people out there who definitely love these games. I'm not one. I did not like Medieval. I'm hoping that with this revamp that they can kind of smooth over some of the rough edges from its original release.
What I'd like to see remastered is Maximo.
Oh yeah.
So we're talking about games no one remembers with swords and armor.
Yeah. And boxer briefs.
Yeah. But Maximo, I guess that's also in common with that, huh?
Yeah.
He's got like Sir, what's his name?
Sir, I don't remember.
Sir, I don't remember. Yeah, that's I think that is his name.
It's basically the 3D take on Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah.
Is what Maximo was. But you're right.
I meant this guy. The medieval guy.
Oh.
He's Sir something, too.
Oh, you're right. He is.
Yeah, he's Sir, I don't remember his name. But I think he also wears boxers.
He does.
Under
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's weird that we drew those parallels between those games. But for those of you who don't know, Maximo is like the 3D version of Ghouls and Ghosts. It came out for the PS2. Did it come out for Xbox?
No, it's only PS2.
Yeah.
It was Maximo Ghosts
to
to
Glory. Yeah.
And Maximo versus the Army of Zin.
Yeah.
Which was actually, the second one's actually really good.
They were hard.
Yeah, they're very hard.
I mean, they carried that pedigree over from the originals.
Yeah, they were legit
not as
successors.
hard, but hard.
Yeah, they didn't
relatively.
They didn't make you play the game twice on one quarter.
Right.
But
yeah, I guess no game could be as hard.
No. Well, sorry, do it again.
Yeah.
That's not what New Game Plus means.
Yeah. But look, Medieval is one of those games that's going to see the PS4 off the pasture. It's going to be one of those last games that people play. I think it's great for that.
I mean, it kind of fit, if you got a Crash collection and a Spyro collection, you might as well have a Medieval collection.
Yeah.
Or is this just the first game? It's not
I think it's just the first one. Yeah. I don't think it's like the other Spyro and Crash, unfortunately. But I didn't even know there was a second one of these. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah, there's definitely Medieval 2.
Oh yeah. I didn't like the first one, so I just completely tuned it out, I guess. But the game's looking pretty good. I mean, all these remakes that they've been doing for PS4 have been like great.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta hand it to them.
And it doesn't take them 6 years like Square.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're just like putting a B team on this stuff. The games have been
like
good.
that's the weird thing. It's like you could have just done the Crash Bandicoot thing with Final Fantasy VII, and it would have been fine.
It would have been fine. Yeah, for sure. But maybe we'll be wrong, and the Final Fantasy VII remake will be far better than the original. Yeah. I hope. But we'll see. Next up, as Matt mentioned earlier, they announced a brand new limited edition PlayStation 4. I'm confused, though. I'm not sure. And it is called the Days of Play.
The event you get the limited edition PS4 is Days of Play.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I'm so confused, because this PS4 is called the Days of Play limited edition PlayStation 4. I have not figured out yet, though. Is it a Pro or is it the PS4 Slim?
I don't know.
It looks like a Pro.
Looks like a Pro. I think it's a Pro.
But they don't market it as that, which is weird. Maybe they're just now. It's like the Pro is the PS4.
Maybe the Pro is the PS4, and like we're moving to the PS5, and they're just sort of trying to make it less complicated.
That is one ugly console.
Yes.
I don't know.
There has actually not been a single limited edition PS4 this generation that I thought looked good.
Yeah.
Like they all looked awful to me. I don't know why. And like even when like the brandings of like stuff that I think I like and then it's cool, I just don't like how they did it.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like even like the God of War one, I just didn't like the design they put on it.
I don't like pretty much any game specific console. I just don't. It's like I don't want to pigeonhole my console to one game.
I like the Resident Evil 4 Xbox 360, or was it 5? It was just blood red.
It's got to be 5, I think.
It was just blood red.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. Colors are okay. If it's just a color, whether you like the color or not, that's obviously up to you.
I think it had like blood effects, like splatter.
See, I hate that crap. I hate when there's like the God of War one had like a big axe on it, or like a Batman will have like the bat symbol. Like I hate any consoles like that. I just like clean, typical consoles, multicolor fine. Other than that, I kind of draw the line.
Majora Tom says it's a slim PS4, so it's not a Pro.
That looked like a Pro, didn't it?
Kinda.
Yeah. Because the difference is the number of shells, right?
Yeah, the
maybe
Pro
the
has
new Slim has the same
design. The Slim has 2. Well, normally the Slim has 2, and the Pro has 3.
Just the one. Oh, really?
It's like 3 shelves.
Yeah.
It's taller.
Okay, so that's a base PS4 there, folks.
Yeah.
Still ugly.
I don't need one.
You know what we could have done is just looked at the controller to tell if it was
That's
a Pro
true.
or... But it wasn't on, so you wouldn't be able to see the light.
Yeah, if I could be blinded by the light shining through the top of the controller, we know. We know it's a Pro.
Monster Hunter World, Iceborne was also in there. Looks like a gigantic expansion to Monster Hunter World.
It better be. It's $50.
Set in the $50 for it. That's crazy, dude. I don't know if I can think of Final Fantasy 14 maybe had expansions that expensive.
Yeah.
But
Not
otherwise,
common.
that's asking. And look, it does look like a pretty big departure. Just the Arctic environment.
Yeah, it's almost a whole new game, really, like a whole new section.
Why wouldn't you just make Monster Hunter World 2?
I think because you've got an established player base, and they're still going strong, and they've got high engagement with like regular events and timed events and limited time events.
I would be curious.
They're still getting marketing tie-ins with it.
Yeah,
I mean, they're still making money off of it. Like,
I'd be curious to see how many people are still playing it.
I loaded it up the other day just to see how it was looking, and I still don't like it. But I still find it impenetrable and annoying. But there were a lot of people. Like it was very easy to get into a match. It was not a problem on PS4 anyway.
I just know people were talking about it on SIFTD for a long time after it came out, like and saying, I'm playing all the DLC, but now it's just kind of that talk has disappeared.
I still know people that are still playing. I mean, the Monster Hunter community, they know how many people are going to play it and keep playing it, and a lot of them come back for this. Like,
I did it once with Try.
Don't underestimate the Monster Hunter community. They'll make it worth Capcom's while.
Yeah, I did that with Monster Hunter Try. I stuck around and played it for a long time.
No, this series is not for me.
And then I felt like I just didn't need to do it again. It's like I get it. I have played enough. I had played like 200 hours or something like that of it. It's like I understand it.
I would frankly rather have Dragon's Dogma 2.
I agree with that. Absolutely. And then finally, the last game that they showed is a game called River Bond. And River Bond is coming to both PS4 and PC. It was previously only announced for PC. And it's a voxel-based, isometric, cooperative action RPG. But its USP, its unique selling proposition, is that it has characters from like tons of indie games. The character from Guacamelee is in there. There's like 4 or 5 different characters from mostly indie games that you can play as. But that was just, I think this is the first thing they showed, which is weird to kind of kick something off with something like this. But
well, it's not really a closer.
No, well, yeah, but you kind of jam it. If you look at the rundown at GameFace, you'll see how we do things. It's like start with something big, and then in the middle, like after that, you have a couple kind of middle of the road topics, and then in the middle you want something big, and then you want to finish with the big flourish. And I mean, I'm sure shows like this probably could benefit from that sort of a strategy as well. But it's just kind of a small indie game. It looks like Sony has a console exclusive on it, but or at least a timed console exclusive on it. So overall, what do you think of Sony's second attempt at a Nintendo Direct?
It was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. Like, certainly, as much as I was disappointed by the first one, I was pleasantly surprised by this one, because the first one had set expectations and precedent. And maybe that was the plan all along, to blow us away with the second one. Doubt it, but maybe. And so I think how bad the first one was made this one all the more sweeter. And if Sony can bring that kind of interest into each one of these, that's pretty good. Yeah. We'll see. I'm guessing we're going to get another one of these in like 3 weeks.
Even though they said they're not going to do anything around E3?
Yeah. I think they will. Like, I just don't know how you can sit there all week watching all this happen and not do anything. Like, I just can't comprehend that.
Like, another one would probably be actually announcing release dates for Last of Us and like Ghost of Tsushima. So I don't know. If you had that, why wouldn't you just do that at E3?
Well, you save a lot more money by not doing it at E3.
I don't know. And they have tweets, something today about how like Last of Us is in its final stretch of production. Yeah. So the timing's kind of working out.
It should happen. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
I don't know. I think we might see like the next one in like July.
Really? You really think they're just going to completely act like E3 doesn't exist?
I mean, that's what they said they're going to do. Like, who knows if they're actually going to do it? But we'll see.
I'm holding out hope. I'll put it to you that way. But man, vastly improved from the first installment in this. So.
Yeah, it still doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff I'm interested in. I mean, it's kind of stuff I'm morbidly curious about. Final Fantasy VII, Predator. I'll keep my eye on when they talk more about it. Next year.
I just watched the latest Predator movie with Olivia Munn. Oh my God,
it's not good.
It is one of the worst movies I've seen in a long, long time.
It definitely feels like about 4 different drafts of the script all smushed together.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad, so bad.
They never made any sequels to Predator. It's fine. It didn't happen. It's just one movie.
Yep.
Just like RoboCop.
Yep. So anyway, like I said, we are ramping up for E3 a little bit in this episode, and one of the topics that came up is the fact that Netflix, Sony's leaving, EA's left, Microsoft is only kind of there, but here comes Netflix to E3.
All right.
Were you surprised by this?
I guess. Like, I don't know if surprise is the word. It's more like puzzled.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? All right, sure, why not? Fine. I mean, I guess I can. My only guess is that Bandersnatch.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Bandersnatch is an interactive show on Netflix.
A Black Mirror episode that was like choose your own adventure.
Basically. Yeah.
A bunch of different endings. It's kind of like Until Dawn.
Yeah.
But live action.
Yeah.
And my only guess on this is that that was popular and got a lot of traction on social media. So I would think that if they're going to E3, maybe they're going to expand that strongly. Because there's another series they're doing where one of the episodes in the new season is going to be like that. So this seems like maybe that's a new initiative for them. So maybe that's what they're talking about. Because it's kind of a game.
They did put out one quote. They said that they're coming to E3 to figure out how to turn more of their properties into games.
Oh, I mean, that's a very biz dev legitimate reason. Yeah.
They have an hour plus presentation on Keighley's stage during the show. So they appear to be going all in.
So it sounds like maybe that Stranger Things game turned out okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it hasn't come out yet, right?
No.
Yeah.
But like if they're moving forward on that, maybe they must be happy with what that turned out to be.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say though is Stranger Things is the obvious win.
Right.
If you're looking at Netflix's properties, it's one of the first ones you would say, yeah, that should probably
adapt that. And, I mean,
that should probably be a game.
into what they're doing. I know there was a Telltale game in the planning stages.
Yeah.
Like that all makes sense.
But what about what are some of Netflix's other properties that would make good games? Black Mirror, obviously.
Black Mirror would be good. I think you could do a pretty decent kind of adventure style game with like a Telltale style game with Santa Monica Diet. Even though
Santa Clarita Diet.
Santa Clarita Diet, right?
Even though it's just
even though they're
canceled.
canceling it.
Dude, Netflix is so weird because stuff just shows up on there. Like you don't know. Like
they're not good at that.
I feel like Santa Clarita Diet is one of those shows that like people just didn't even know it existed.
Well, also people didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And, like, my mom loves that show, but only
It's a pretty good show.
because I told her what it was. She's like, "Oh, I thought it was just like some kind of slice of life, like Hollywood people
right
thing."
there in the
I'm
suburbs.
like, no, Drew
and
Barrymore's a zombie and has to eat people, and they have to figure out a way to do that, but still be like yuppies. And she's like, "Oh, that sounds good." And now she's all mad that they canceled it.
It's good. I mean, the show's crazy. It actually made me like unsettled a lot of times.
Yeah, it's
like
it's
it doesn't
really,
really pull any
creepy.
punches. Yeah, I recommend like going and checking it out.
Yeah.
There's 2 seasons of it up there.
Maybe they
that could work, but you're right. Like it's canceled, so why would they bother trying?
They could do like true crime procedural games. That would be very on brand, right?
Yeah. But you start thinking about their shows, and it's like Ozark. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Like,
You do like a Where's Waldo style game, except you're looking for missing children.
but it doesn't seem to me that there are a ton of properties that Netflix has that are right.
But they might have stuff in the pipeline because remember, like they lost all the Marvel stuff,
right?
So it would make sense if they're kind of trying to come up with more,
stuff in that vein.
Stuff in that kind of subgenre.
So you're saying maybe they're being preemptive. They know
I think that's what
they
they're
have
doing.
in the pipeline, and it's catering more towards that, and they want to get it involved.
I think that's what.
That makes sense.
Well, especially because now they have control over it, whereas before you'd have to like let Marvel make the deal.
Right.
And now, and they're already moving. Like what's that show, Hannah? Like that just came out, where like Hannah's like a super powered. Like it basically.
I haven't watched it.
It's like I haven't watched it either, but I've seen that they will not stop running commercials for it, and it's like it's basically like X-Men without the X-Men license.
okay.
Like she's like a military experiment mutant psychic, like something like that. I don't know. I ain't gonna watch it. I don't care.
Military experiment, mutant psychic.
Yeah, that's what they should have called it. But something like that. You could have made a pretty, they have properties they could do something with like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't expect to see like an Orange is the New Black game anytime soon or anything. But you know what? Who knows? Stranger things have happened.
The next big prison sim.
Yeah. Yeah, Prison Architect 5 has a really interesting marketing tie-in. Who knew?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I watch a lot of Netflix. I watch almost all their originals.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to think of any existing ones that
Well,
really
I
work.
mean, Umbrella Academy could be one.
I haven't watched that.
If you want, I mean, that's basically X-Men, but like horrible and violent and dark and scary. And it's edgy. There's a lot. They're getting into sort of these like more indie comic stuff that are sort of like in the comics world more of like Image Comics is a lot of like more edgy. It's DC Marvel property, but edgy,
right?
But realistic. But it's like well, if this really happened, people get messed up and their faces get ripped off and stuff like that. So like Umbrella Academy is pretty good. It starts slow, but like it's a good comic and it's a pretty good series adaptation of it.
I mean, they could do Frontier and just hire like Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed team to make it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they have stuff in the pipeline that's sci-fi related or superhero related or whatever that you could turn into something.
It's interesting that Netflix views this as a more than viable marketing strategy, though, is to get these games made. I mean, it's understanding, I think, more than a lot of media companies that the gamers are the drivers of almost everything at this point, mostly because most people who are into pop culture are gamers. It wasn't that way 20, 30 years ago.
Well, I think they're mostly realizing that like they're not in competition with video games.
Yeah.
And if they can get someone who plays games interested in this property, you might get a subscription out of them when they want to watch the source material.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
And that's one of the last untapped markets, and they're going to need it. Because in terms of appealing to people just on the back of the actual brand and the IP, Disney Plus is about to steamroll them.
Yeah.
For about 1/3 the cost per month.
Maybe
So,
Pactor's Netflix call will finally be right.
what was his Netflix?
Well, he's
call?
notorious for like saying that people shouldn't invest in Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that people always give him crap for.
I think he's right on with that.
Well,
And-
see, the thing is he just looks at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look at the sort of cultural zeitgeist is created by something. He just says, okay, you're spending this amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
you're making this amount of money. That's a losing proposition.
Yeah. And your growth potential is just sort of you've plateaued.
And right, and then and everyone else just looks at it like
But
everybody
has
uses
it. Yeah.
Netflix,
It's not-
so of course.
That's not always, anyone who subscribed to MoviePass should know that doesn't mean the company's doing well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Pactor just looks at the financials and is like, "There's
Yeah.
no way this is a house of cards."
Well, and I mean, look, Disney Plus is taking the biggest IPs in entertainment
Yep.
and putting them all in one place for $7.99 a month.
And then they just bought Hulu.
Today, they just consolidated 90% control of Hulu. So what's going to happen? You're going to get a Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus bundle for less than Netflix costs per month.
Yep.
And that's going to be the first real wound.
First real
to
competition,
Netflix.
honestly,
Yeah.
for Netflix.
So that'll be fun to look for. But
It'll be
yeah,
interesting to watch.
I think Pactor is right. Like, do not invest in Netflix because it's not going to be a good couple of years for them going forward.
Yeah.
Put all your stock investment in GameSpot. Stop. Whatever.
But the problem for Pac is that he said all along to not invest in Netflix.
Yeah.
And when people give their estimates where they think the stock was going to be, he was always lower than everybody else, and it just kept going up because of what we discussed. People are like, everyone has Netflix, so just put money into it. I mean,
Well, yeah, because the dirty little secret is the stock market is imaginary.
it really is. Yeah, it's
So,
this
like-
weird figment of everyone's imagination
Yeah.
that everyone has agreed to buy into, to give companies money to do more of what they
Yeah.
do.
And long term, Pactor's right. But it's not until now that you're seeing concrete examples of why that's right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think you're seeing it with Uber right now, actually,
Oh, yeah.
because Uber loses money hand over fist, but they're about to go IPO.
they already did.
Oh, it did?
Did last week, and it was.
Oh, it happened last week?
It was the.
Are you talking about Lyft, I think?
No,
Oh, Uber went public
Uber.
last week? I missed
Yeah.
it somehow.
it was.
I knew Lyft had done it the month before or whatever.
No, I had some friends working on some stuff for that, and.
Did you buy it?
Oh no, of course not. I mean, it was not a failure. It was big, but it was the lowest. It was something like the biggest gap in dollar amount between what it actually opened at, what was predicted to open at.
They said, it was going to open at 45 to 50, right?
Yeah.
And where did it start?
I don't remember what it's.
Do you know, Sam?
Way down now.
Yeah,
Oh,
the share price tanked.
did it?
The per share price tanked immediately. It was something. It was supposed to be 20 something per, and it ended up at 7.
Oh.
But it's still a multi-billion-dollar
Yeah,
IPO.
right.
It's just not as multi-billions as
They
everybody
thought.
was hoping it would be. And we'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that as a failure if you're the one making money off of it because it was still a moneymaker.
Right.
But it wasn't the. It's like how.
It wasn't the home run everyone thought.
Dig was worth $200 million at one point, and then it got sold for $4 million.
Right.
So
Yeah.
$4 million still a lot of money, but it ain't $200
But it
million.
ain't 200 million. There's a big difference. I think what's most interesting to me about Netflix going to E3 is, like I said, the revolving door. You have the traditional guys going out the door, and then you have someone like a Netflix stepping in the door. Is that where the industry's going? Because it seems like the companies that haven't been a part of it see more opportunity in things like E3 than the companies that have been there all along.
I think this Netflix thing is more like they're trying to find another avenue that they can have some success and maybe make that leap, that lateral move. Because look, when Disney comes for you, you either hide in the basement or you run.
Yeah.
And Netflix might need to run.
Yeah.
And if they can get a working games division going, that could save the brand to some degree. Maybe not to the volume they're used to, but that's something. They're diversifying a little bit that makes them a stronger company because they're not relying on their success entirely on being the biggest streaming provider. Because look, you're not going to be able to compete. Here's the thing: is Disney's sort of doing this sleeping giant thing with this streaming thing because they kind of dismissed streaming for a long time. For a long time, the executives at Disney sort of saw streaming in the way someone from 2007 would see streaming, and now they've woken up to the power of it. They're making all this original content for Disney Plus. They're going to premiere with The Mandalorian, which is going to be a
They're already
huge
doing it with
deal.
ESPN.
All the Star Wars movies going to be on there. They're getting rid of the Vault, which I never thought I would see in my lifetime. Like Disney animated films are not going to go in a vault and be unavailable for years at a time. You're just going to be able to get all the Disney animated films on this service whenever you want, which is a godsend for parents who just want to put a child in front of the TV and go away.
All of them.
And then you come back and they're watching Treasure Planet for the 15th time. No, not that one. It's shockingly good value. I mean,
do you
it's
think Netflix...
$7? It's $7 a month. That's a rental.
I know. Yeah.
There's nothing, and Disney can just take that hit because they don't care.
Now, do you think Netflix needs to step up and start creating bigger budget games, or do you think games like the Life is Strange game, this 2D indie kind of thing, is good enough to move the needle?
I think if they deliver some really quality like adventure style entertainment like Life is Strange, they'll move the needle. In part because Life is Strange is really the only game in town now in that regard, now that Telltale collapsed.
Yep.
So they have an opportunity to sort of be the new Telltale and play it smarter.
And make a ton of money.
So I think if that's their angle, that's pretty smart. In a way that I wouldn't necessarily think Netflix was smart at this point in time. Because they really have sort of pigeonholed themselves in terms of the kind of content they put on and sort of how they've stripped down their back catalog, their library of non-originals. If you want to watch a movie you want to see, chances are it's not on Netflix, especially if it's anything that isn't a brand new release. If I want to see classic films, I got to go to Criterion Channel. If I want to see current TV shows,
that's
I
really
got to go
the problem.
to Hulu.
Everything's getting so splintered now.
Yeah.
It's and people say, "Oh, have you seen this show?" And then I'm like, "Oh, what's it
where
on?
is it?
Yeah, is it on Hulu? Is it on Amazon?"
Yeah,
it's
you start Googling the show to see the little thing
what
that comes up. What's it on?
Is it on? Where can I watch the damn thing?
And once at a certain point, you add up all your subscriptions to things. You're like, this is as expensive as cable.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah.
It's dicey. All these services, though, and we're going to talk a little bit about that further later
I still
on.
watch a lot of Netflix's original stuff, so I still keep that subscription.
Yeah, I just keep paying it.
My subscription for Netflix will end when their original content stops being interesting because nothing else they have on there is of interest to me.
I don't use Netflix. I have DirecTV, so it's I don't use it as my replacement for cable or satellite.
Basically, once BoJack Horseman ends,
You're out.
Netflix gonna have to be real crafty to get me back.
By then, season 5 of
how about
Life is Strange will come out or whatever.
If the games come with the subscription,
here's the thing, though.
some kind of
Netflix
Now thing.
Here's one thing I'll say, though. Netflix now has enough good originals that as long as they just keep producing new seasons of those, I'm probably going to stay a subscriber.
Yeah, it is interesting to scroll through it now and see you can go through scroll through all these different categories, and you really don't see anything but Netflix originals now. They have
that many.
Well, because they're throwing so much money in a hole making this stuff. It's
that's all that investment money they're spending it. Basically.
Well, that's what Pactor's talking about when he says look at what they spend versus what they take in. They're spending literally billions,
$2 billion more a year
on production every year. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
And then they let everything last 3 years and then kill it.
Yeah.
Unceremoniously. And no one knows. I know people who've worked on some of those shows. None of them know how they did. They don't tell the people, even the celebrity people, even the high level, people you think could get anything they want information wise in Hollywood have been stonewalled by Netflix, and they have no idea why they got canceled. They have no idea how well the show did. They don't know what the expectations were in the first place. You get no stats and no feedback from Netflix.
You take your money from Netflix and go on your way.
You make your thing, you give it to them, and then they tell you whether they'll need more or not.
Yeah, they don't even give viewing numbers for anything.
Nothing.
I think there was one show 2 or 3 months ago where they finally did it. They said that 10 million people had watched it or something, and people are like, "Oh my God, you gave us a freaking number."
Yeah, they'll do some stuff like that where they'll be like, "Oh, this many people tuned." It was or they gave numbers I think for that stupid Cloverfield thing that aired after the Super Bowl. They bragged about that. They'll do it to brag about some record they set or something. But in general, even internally, they will not tell people who make the shows how their shows are doing, which is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. All right, we're going to talk next about Detective Pikachu, the film, not the game. The game's been out now for a year and a half.
Many years, several years.
And I did not see it, but Matt has.
Yes.
It did pretty well over the weekend.
Did all right. Made about 160 million worldwide, I think, which is not a runaway hit, but it's the top grossing video game movie opening weekend of all time. So if they were planning for their only metric of success to be bigger than that, then that's on them. That's an EA. That's an EA, like 7.2 million isn't enough copies of Battlefield sold. Like, by any metric, this movie did fine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what was the budget for it? Probably like 50 million or something?
Oh, no, it's probably closer to 100. Like,
really?
It's constant CG.
CG is that expensive, huh?
It's just the amount of time and production, and like, you know, none of that's easy. Like,
Yeah.
there are effects in almost every shot in this movie. So I would guess it's between 70 and 100 million.
So they doubled their investment almost in one weekend.
Well, I mean, that is doubling your budget is the standard by which you've broken even.
Right, because you pay that much for marketing.
Marketing, and then theaters take half cut, and then you get less of a cut from international stuff. So that's why domestic box office will always be more important.
Yeah.
But you look at this, what it made for worldwide, it'll probably come in around 400 million in the end worldwide, and that's plenty.
Hell yeah, that's plenty.
You'll get it's not profitable like a runaway hit. I thought it was actually going to maybe be a little bigger. I did not anticipate Endgame being the biggest movie of all time, and still being kind of a juggernaut in the theaters. In fact, some of the theaters around here, after a day or two, moved Pikachu out of their high quality recliner
Loungy
theaters
theater.
and moved Endgame back in.
Yeah.
Because Endgame was still making more money. Yeah, I went and saw it.
What did you think?
I thought it was fine. It's fun.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's
That's
fun.
turning into a GameFace meme. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fun. It's fun. Like, I enjoyed it. It is. I think if you're not a Pokemon fan, you're gonna be kind of bored because the story is
What is the plot?
really. But the plot is.
Is it like the game at all?
Yeah, it is. It's vaguely like the game. There's definitely a lot of references to it. I never finished the game, so I don't know if the endings are the same. But
Right.
it's definitely based on the game
Okay.
in a loose way. So the kid there, Tim, his father dies. His father's a cop in this city called Rhyme City, and he goes to. His father dies in this car crash, leaving this laboratory that Mewtwo escapes from, and he goes to pick up his dad's things and clean out his apartment or whatever. And he doesn't really have a relationship with his dad. He doesn't know his dad. He hasn't seen him in 11 years or 10 years or something. His mom's dead. He grew up raised by his grandmother pretty much. So he goes and goes to the apartment, and in Rhyme City is started by this business magnate guy who was chronically ill, but then found through Pokemon a way to be better or something. So he started this city where there's no Pokeballs, there's no Pokemon matches. It's just people living with Pokemon in the open, and everybody has a Pokemon partner. And then the kid doesn't have one, so he's considered weird there. And his dad's Pikachu, who's Detective Pikachu, shows up, and they thought the Pikachu was dead too, and turns out he's not dead. And then there's this chemical called R, which they use to drive Pokemon crazy. It's like a weird thing.
Is it like catnip for Pokemon?
No, it makes them rabid almost. Briefly.
Okay.
It makes them crazy. And he
kind of like catnip.
He opens it. Yeah, but when you give a cat catnip, he doesn't try to kill you.
Right.
And he opens the thing and he smells it, and then Pikachu shows up, and because of the thing, because he can smell the thing, because he inhaled the gas or whatever, he can understand what Pikachu's saying. So Pikachu, who's Ryan Reynolds, and so Pikachu is if I'm alive, then your dad must be alive because they took him. And so the mystery is what happened to his dad? Where is his dad? And
is his dad really dead?
And where's Mewtwo? And what's going on? And so there's a corporate conspiracy thing and all that stuff. So they have to figure out what's going on. And he hooks up with this reporter girl. She's not a reporter. She's an intern at the local TV station, but she wants to be a reporter, and she helps him with the story. And she's got a Psyduck as her Pokemon. So you can see that was the crazy Pokemon.
Are all the Pokemon the original 151?
No, it's from all generations.
Oh, really?
Most of them.
It seems like all the ads though have focused.
Well, they know where they're aiming.
Where
yeah.
the bread's
but
buttered.
they're across the whole series. I think there's 60 or 70 through the whole thing.
Wow, that's a lot.
There's something in the background of almost every shot, especially in the city, because they're just everywhere.
Who are the big players as far as the Pokemon?
Psyduck. Psyduck's in it a lot. Psyduck, Pikachu, Mewtwo. And there's a fairly substantial Bulbasaur sequence.
Okay. But mostly just Psyduck and Pikachu.
And it's a fairly dark film. And Ditto. There's a Ditto in it.
Really? Wow.
And there's this scene with
Magikarp.
the Magikarps. I mean, there's if you're not a Pokemon fan, a lot of the stuff's going to go over your head because there's a lot of
there a lot of inside jokes?
A lot of in jokes. There's a lot of lore. I mean, one of the first things that happens is a reference to that like fan theory that used to be around. I think it got canonized eventually in the Pokemon bios, but about how Cubone wears the skull of its mother because.
Oh, that's in the games.
Yeah.
It says in the games.
And it's like, but I just remember that from way back where like people were like theorizing on this thing or whatever, and like it starts with there's a Cubone in a field crying. Like with a skull on and stuff, and like they referenced that at the very beginning.
Is the dead mother there?
No, but like it's crazy. It's like there's a lot of stuff in there that even as someone who's like a casual fan, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm surprised they brought that up.
Cool.
But if you're not a Pokemon fan, like it's a fine story, but it's a by the numbers 3-act screenplay.
Yeah.
Like you could teach this screenplay in class. To teach people how a 3-act story works.
Yeah.
To the point that in the 3rd act, one of the characters actually says, I abandoned you when you needed me the most. Which is like, yes, that is exactly what happens in Act 2.
Yeah.
All you're missing is like some bystander standing up in the middle of it and going, the all is lost moment. So if like everything's very predictable and telegraphed, but like for kids, like they're not going to know that. You don't need to subvert expectations for 6-year-olds.
Is it?
Frankly, if a kid
Is
grows
it too dark for kids though?
I wouldn't say so.
No.
I mean, it's slightly dark in the way that things were dark when we were kids. It reminded me that there's some violence, there's some scary stuff, there's some, emotions, there's some things. But I think it's better than like the sanitized nonsense that passes for kids' entertainment a lot.
Absolutely. It didn't hurt us watching the Dark Crystal.
No, we turned out fine. Look at us. And kids love Pokemon. They're gonna love seeing all the Pokemon on screen. They do a really good job.
I think even big kids like us will love stuff like that.
Like if you're a fan, like there's no reason not to see it. It's a fine, serviceable story with like a whole bunch of really cool like visual.
The way it doesn't disrespect the source material.
No, they all look like themselves.
Wow.
The way they've adapted everything into live action looks really great. Look at all that.
It's pretty amazing.
It's just there's stuff on every frame. There's something to look at if you know Pokemon.
Is there going to be a sequel?
I think they're already working on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I don't see why not. I mean, it would be very hard to do a sequel to this because they do close the story off pretty definitively. But I think you've established a world that you can just play in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of weird too because these Pokemon are sort of imprinted on owners now, right?
Yeah, and the Rhyme City Pokemon are. Yeah, they're like they're partners. They're not like they don't keep in Pokeballs. They don't fight with them. Like the fight with Charizard that you see in the trailers is like an underground like illicit fight club thing.
Yeah, I kind of figured that out. But so are there multiple versions of each Pokemon?
Oh yeah, there's tons of them.
Oh, okay. So it is set up like the game then, where multiple people can have Pikachus.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everybody knows Pikachus in it. Like and everybody knows Pikachu's, and because no one else can understand him, so sometimes it'll cut back, and instead of Ryan Reynolds' voice, it's just Pika Pika.
Right.
He's like, oh, it's okay. He's like, yeah, keep touching me, lady. Come on. So Ryan Reynolds just improving furiously. The kid in his old bedroom is a Pikachu bed with like the ears sticking up from the headboard, and so clearly like it's like the games. It's like there's species. There are tons of them. Although I think there's only one Psyduck in the movie.
Oh.
And Psyduck is fun because like basically if he gets too stressed out, the Psy bomb goes off, and so there's constantly every time like things are happening, like Pikachu's constantly trying to calm him down,
worried that it's gonna explode.
So
you recommend that people go check it out, go see it?
If you're a Pokemon fan, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like it's it's not gonna rock your world narratively, but like it's cool to see all that stuff on the screen, and I think in terms of video game adaptation, they kind of did the Marvel thing. They just took all the source material, said this works the way it works, and we're gonna take it. We're gonna come up with some interesting character conflicts and put it on the screen. So what else can you ask? Yeah. I mean, they didn't lean on the idea that we need to slavishly retell a video game story. We're just going to take the setting and the trappings and put it up there and try to make a good story out of it on its own. And while it's not anything special in terms of the villain's plan makes no damn sense, but how was that any different from any other kind? It's solid. Like you could teach that screenplay in school to show how you're supposed to progress through each story beat and build these character relationships, and like it's an adult is going to see everything coming, 15 minutes out every time something's foreshadowed. Here it comes.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just kind of predictable.
But you can take your kids to see this and not fall asleep.
No,
halfway through the movie.
I admit I did get a little sleepy at one
Did
point
you?
in Act 2. It was a little slow. And the guy next to me was he was about like roughly our age, and his boyfriend was like 30-ish. Clearly the 30-ish boyfriend was the one who wanted to see this, because dude was just like kind of like nodding a bit. At one point he fell asleep on the boyfriend's shoulder. Like it kind of like looked around once in a while. And it was just, like you could see he really wanted to check his phone, but he didn't want to take his phone out and be the dick.
Yeah.
And just like I'm just like, yeah,
You're doing him a solid.
yeah, you're here for him, and that was all that was about. It was just really funny because it was just like you could tell he didn't care about anything.
Yeah, I probably didn't even know what the hell any of it was either.
Yeah, he's too old. You know, we're weird in that we play this
because we
stuff.
love games.
Yeah. But the boyfriend was like the exact age to have grown up
Playing
with
the
Gen
games,
1
yeah.
and kind of, you know, you could tell, and he was enraptured. Like
over the moon.
Like when I was like losing interest in the movie, I'd look over and see how they were
and
doing.
he'd inspire you. That's great. All right, let's move on. We talked last week about.
But if you're a parent and you don't care about Pokemon, I guarantee you've seen worse children's movies in the theater.
Oh yeah,
it's way better than any Minions thing.
Okay.
So
good. Last week we talked about Ghost Recon and what we wanted to see from the upcoming game, and this past week the brand new game was unveiled by Ubisoft. It's called Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I think it's aptly named. The response to this has been interesting because I watched the debut presentation and came away with a completely different impression of the game from some other people. To me, what we had talked about last week was how I wanted to see a return to a more serious tone, more realistic, more stealth-driven, more espionage-driven, and it appears to me that this is exactly what we're getting with Breakpoint. But then some people who are big fans of Wildlands on SIFTD said that they felt like it was just a reskin Wildlands. So I've been in this weird like limbo on this game, trying to figure out if I'm misreading the game, but to me it looks nothing like Wildlands. Does it to you?
it looks like an expansion pack to me.
Really? So you
Like,
do
I think
feel
you're-
that?
Oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I think you're right that the tone is more serious, and I mean the tone has definitely changed more to like what you were asking for. But I mean, it feels like the Division 2 thing here. Like it's Wildlands, but they've sort of added some new wrinkles and some new ideas, but it's basically the same thing. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, it's all it needed to be. I mean, you don't want to mess with success too much. I understand why people are upset that the AI teammates are gone. But I also really like the whole put up drones for the squad shot thing.
I think, see, that's what set it apart for me, was when they actually, so they put out this trailer that you're seeing right now, and then this B-roll will flow into the actual chunk of gameplay that they showed. And that is where, to me, the game appeared completely differently to Wildlands. Because, like you said, the AI partners are gone. You're playing with real people. But the cool thing about it, what I thought was cool, was the missions are set up in such a way that there's multiple parts of a mission to accomplish, and your team splits apart and goes and accomplishes separate parts of the mission, and then eventually comes together to complete the mission. That, to me, there was nothing like that in Wildlands.
I didn't really get that much out of that.
Did you watch the demo?
I did. Yeah? I didn't see that really. Like, you mean when they're going into the mansion thing, or the
Yeah, and they all split up, and like one guy goes over and takes out the guys who are guarding the back of it.
Yeah, I don't think that was like a mission requirement. I think that's just how they decided to approach it.
So it was another one of those Ubisoft
I guarantee. Oh yeah,
things.
I think it was just how Ubisoft likes to play their multiplayer trailers as though everybody's in a frickin' SEAL team.
See, I was under the impression that that's the way they all needed to complete their separate missions before.
No, I didn't get that.
Oh,
at
really?
all.
Interesting.
No, I think that was just like they were trying to play it up and make it look cool, and they did make it look cool.
Yeah, it worked.
It's nice to be able to move bodies. The injury stuff is an interesting thing. Like,
yeah, how about how it changes how you can move? Like,
yeah. And I like the thing where, like, because look, one of the things that I found annoying in Wildlands was trying to get down slopes, and now like I like that they let you go down slopes and stuff, but also they add a risk to it. That's like kind of a more
you can spin,
gameplay
like, slide
control
down
thing.
them, yeah.
So that's a cool idea.
The mud, the camo, the interactive camo where you can just smear mud on yourself.
Yeah, somebody on that team is a big Metal Gear Solid 3 fan because there's a lot of that happening.
No, you're right. It did have shades of that game for sure. But I'd see it. To me, Wildlands was like this tongue-in-cheek kind of shticky, like cracking lame jokes all the time. Like this game is nothing like that. This is like deathly serious. I'm from SEAL Team 6 and like.
I bet you it will be exactly that.
You think it will?
Yeah, I mean, you're really judging this by a very controlled PR presentation.
It is, yeah.
Like,
I mean, but generally what you do with the PR campaign is you're trying to imprint the game's tone onto the audience. You're right. Sometimes it's a bait and switch. But
I think that's. I don't see them changing anything substantial about that. I mean, the tone of this trailer is like that, sure, but like the tone of this like one little section here can't match. It's probably not going to match the 45,000 hours of open world document hunting.
But the trailers for Wildlands were like that, though. They were like sticky and had dumb jokes in them, and it was like. It's almost like a party out in the Wildlands vibe instead of this, which is like, this is life or death.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time imagining a Ubisoft game that doesn't have a fair amount of banter.
Bad jokes.
I mean, I guess without the AI teammates, it's probably not really a thing because what are you going to banter with? Your drone? Like, I do really like the drones that just hover over the targets, and when you like hit go, they just smash down.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's horrible.
Yeah,
like,
but so rewarding.
Yeah, and probably realistic.
But again, just being injured and having to deal with your injuries and still having to fight and not giving you this like goofy rebounding health meter where just magically you're fine out of nowhere. Like the struggle that you have to go through to survive. And I wonder how they balance that, man. Like,
yeah, well, my thing is like
it can't be easy.
Every time anyone does something like this in a game, like it demos real well when you see this sort of thing.
And then in practice.
In practice, like you feel, okay, when this happens, I got to use this item, and when this happens, I got to do this, and that takes a little longer, and I just hide behind a tree, and okay, now we're good. Like it's. I
mean, a lot of it will depend on how they balance the game. How do they send enemies after you once you're injured? Because you can't send the same amount of enemies at you as you would if you were healthy, because people will get so frustrated and get pissed off. So you have to have some kind of a dynamic either AI system or enemy spawning system.
I mean, you're probably going to want to like focus on like being like a more realistic search AI, like where like
that's true.
Make it easier to for people, especially in a dense environment like that, to not know where you are. And they are doing that where you see with the mud camo and thing, like they walk right by you, and it looks like they're giving you the tools to deal with that change.
I mean, the whole thing is just way more tactical. Like, just how they've changed, like, the moving through water and stuff like that.
Maybe I'm cynical from all of Ubi's marketing over the years. But
I can understand that.
I think that's what they want you to believe, but I have a hard time believing the game is actually going to end up being that, because the dude bro gun porn people that made the first game a 10 million whatever seller, they don't have the patience to do that shit. They're not going to play like that. Like, there's going to be a way to play it like that, but there's also going to be a way to basically cheese the system and play it like they
played Wildlands.
Yeah, it has to be like.
And I'm okay with that. As long as there is a way for me to play it the way that I'll enjoy it, I'm fine. Like, if they want to make a separate kind of option for everybody else, I think that's great. It kind of goes back to the discussion about From Software stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be an actual concrete option. But
But you're saying they'll be able to play it the way they want to and be successful.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm describing here is like, I feel like if you want to play it that way, it's basically just you making it harder for yourself.
I mean, I don't know.
But also, you're going to have
a problem seeing the Wildland comparison. Every second I've seen of this game looks nothing like Wildlands.
I don't know.
Other than the same graphics engine.
I don't know what you're talking about.
When did you ever see this scene in Wildlands, where people are sneaking by and covering themselves in mud?
Well, because that's a new game mechanic. But like, you're still running through like an open, like wooded, wild area, sneaking into mansions of drug dealers and assassinating. I mean, it's still the same. I mean, it looks like it plays very similarly. Like, you getting in a car. It's like, do I think the controller layout's going to be all that different? No. Like, it very clearly looks like Wildlands to me. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Look, I agree. It's in a rural jungle area and you ride cars.
I just don't understand.
And people shoot each other. I can get with you on that level.
Like, do you really think this is not just going to be the same game on a new map? Like, I don't understand what you're seeing here.
I don't think it's going to be the same game. It would have been called Wildlands 2 if that was the case. Why would they not call it Wildlands 2?
Because you're not in a Wildlands
Why,
again?
especially
I don't know.
after Wildlands sold, like you said, like 20 million. If it was going to be just like that, they would absolutely call it Wildlands 2. It would be smart to call it Wildlands 2. In fact, it's probably dumb to not call this Wildlands 2, even if it is different. If you think about it.
I don't know. Like, I guess they're going to like a more Splinter Cell thing where they never call Splinter Cell the same thing twice.
To me, Wildlands was just
Which also
like
got leaked today.
lowest hanging fruit, like cooperative shooter, run and gun, go in. Like I know that they had like the timed thing, but you didn't have to use it.
I think they didn't call it Wildlands 2 specifically because they want to fool people like you into thinking that it's different. Like I think this is just going to be the same game with a couple new gameplay mechanics. Like I don't until some people get their hands on it and say like, no, this plays completely differently. Like call me skeptical, but I ain't get ready to declare that off the back of another highly choreographed Ubi video. As much as I enjoy them, at least they didn't have terrible like voice chat on this one.
But again, everything that they're showing, and you're right, it could be all subterfuge. They could just be showing the only parts of the game that are like this. It's possible.
But I think
all of this stuff none of this is in Wildlands. None of it.
I did this all the time.
You
in
cut
Wildlands.
fences with a blowtorch.
That's a new game mechanic. Who gives a shit?
You're saying game mechanics don't matter.
Something that small is a quality of life improvement.
No, but
because people
that's one small thing. They've just showed like 20 of them.
I don't know what you're...
At what point do feature changes equal a shift in tone, I guess is the question.
I mean, I think
is it 5? Is it 10?
I think
is it 20?
The tone is shifted, but that's a storytelling thing. Like it's... I think you're right that they're trying to make it less... You know, I don't think...
Goofy.
I know that there's no AI, but if you had AI teammates, I don't think people would say, and baby makes 3 when you were spotting them in this game. Like the gallows humor it seems like would be toned down from the previous game. But like a change in like tone on that doesn't make it. I mean, this is just Ghost Recon.
See, I didn't do this in Wildlands. I did not go through houses crouched like search in the corners.
Okay, it's a house instead of like a weird installation.
But that's not
thing,
it though.
Like,
it's the searching the corners. It's the fact that maybe
you
one
didn't do
guy
that
can
in
kill
Ghost
you.
Recon Wildlands.
No, I just ran into buildings and shot everybody. That's the type of game it was.
I promise you, that's what you'll do in this too.
I mean, they're not selling it that way. That's for sure.
No, but they didn't. I don't think they sold Wildlands that way.
Go back
either.
and watch, and I would show you the Wildlands trailer right now, but for some goofy reason, it throws up copyright strikes. But if you go back and watch like the Wildlands trailers, it wasn't like this at all. Like it was all technicolored, like riding down the road with the hair blowing in the breeze. Like it was different.
I mean, the tone.
And you're right; it could end up being
that's a tonal
the same
thing,
game.
sure, but like. That doesn't mean the game's any different. I have a very hard time believing Ubisoft, of all people, completely reinvented the wheel on something that just sold 10 million plus. Like, I don't see it.
I hear that logic. And like I said, like if it were me, I would have called it Wildlands 2. You'll make way more money that way.
I mean, I think you could definitely have gotten away with that, but it seems like the
hand-to-hand stuff too. That's another new feature that's more geared towards realism and a serious.
Well, yeah, but to me, it still says like the base gameplay.
That stuff looks cool, by the way. The hand-to-hand stuff that they've done.
Yeah, the CQC thing, they're much improved as opposed to just the usual sneak up behind the guy and snap his neck.
Stab him in the neck.
I like the bad guys where like the bad guys are basically making Batman vehicles now. Like the premise is cool. I noticed that it's in a fictional place now and not Bolivia because we learned that lesson the hard way. It's basically New Zealand. I don't know. To me, I didn't really see anything that indicated to me that it was anything other than the base game of Wildlands with like some new wrinkles grafted onto it, which is all you really need it to be. The other thing, of course, is what you're describing is also going to require 3 other people playing with you to also agree to play that way.
But see, I've done that. I did that for years. So that's awesome to me. That's not a barrier. That's what makes it fun.
Well, I'm sure if you want to play it carefully and all that, you could do Wildlands that way too. But like most people just didn't.
You didn't have to.
I don't think you're going to have to on this either.
I think you will. Well,
then it's not going to sell 10 million copies.
I don't care how much it sells.
I know.
I don't care if it sells 10.
But that's what I'm saying is that's why I think you're wrong is because the most important thing to the people making this game is that it does sell that many copies again. And if you make it something that you really have to think hard and do like what you're describing, it ain't going to sell that because that's not what the people that made this previous game
Every once in a while, a game does break through, though. I mean, if you think about like the first few Splinter Cells when they were just deathly serious, those games sold very well. But
what are they now? Now they're nothing. I guess. It just leaked some stuff today, so like there is another. It looks like we're finally getting a new Splinter Cell announced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that just happened. Like I think while you were on the way over here.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, I think we might finally see that Splinter Cell game we predicted for like 3 years straight at E3.
Right. But see, that franchise has already gone arcadey.
Yeah,
goofy,
exactly, because they wanted it to sell more.
But it didn't.
No, because nobody cared. Also, because they got rid of Michael Ironside. You get rid of Michael Ironside, go broke every single time.
It's doom.
That's why none of the Starship Troopers sequels made any money.
Yeah.
Because they killed him off in the first one.
Well, I think nobody really knows yet what the final game's going to look like. All we have to go off is this. But I will say this: I am way more excited for this than I would have been for Wildlands 2. Based upon what they showed. Because
Okay.
I played Wildlands for like 15 hours and didn't like it. It's probably the Ubisoft game I have played the least
It is
in the last like 20 years.
Wildlands is the most Ubisoft game.
Probably.
It's
because it mashes everything into one.
Everything together, and it's just like every time I look at the map, I just get tired.
Yeah, like it's too much.
So many icons, so many
Yeah.
everything. You just keep zooming out and zooming out and zooming. I'm like, I'm never gonna get there.
Yeah.
Like, it replaced Assassin's Creed Unity as the most tiring map to look at. Do you remember Assassin's Creed Unity, where it was just icons. It was just here's 10,000 things you have to do that you won't remember doing.
Or you just won't do them like
Yeah.
me. It's like I just ignore them. Like I love when games like that have the ability to turn certain icons off of the map. It's like I just turn on the main story missions and the side missions and off I go.
I'm also interested to see if, like, because they describe the setting as an archipelago, which means there's going to have to be ways to get from island to island.
Yeah.
And that can be boring or it can be interesting. And I wonder if we get like some submarine stuff or some cool like boat combat or.
Well, we're going to talk about a game here in a little bit that has those between location moments, and we'll get to discuss whether it does it well or not. But I'm excited for this, and if it was just Wildlands 2, I wouldn't be. So if it is subterfuge, it certainly worked on me at this point.
I think, yeah. I think you may have to have some words with Mr. Stone Chin when we get to E3 because he got you.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think he has anything to do with the Ghost Recon games actually, but
Well, he kind of has something to do with everything.
something to do with
now.
everything now. That's right. He's sort of
the
he's
BMOC
the big guy
now. Yep. He's not the guy that reps Assassin's Creed anymore.
Yeah.
He's much bigger than that. But this game is coming out 2020. I think it's all they announced.
Is it?
Or is it this year?
I thought it was this year.
It might be, actually. It might be in the fall, which is good because we need as many games as we can get in the fall at this point. It's starting to get a little bare here for the next, 12 months
Well,
as we go through this awkward transition.
Give it some time. It's not E3 yet.
But I'll say this. I was pleasantly surprised by Breakpoint, and I am certainly excited to learn more about it at E3, and my guess is it will be one of the featured games at the show. It'll be playable on the floor probably. And I'm sure it'll be dedicated.
Yeah, October 4th.
Okay, so it is this year. And I'm sure a big chunk of it will be played at Ubisoft's press conference as well.
Yeah, we're not getting away from that.
Ubisoft looking like they have a really awesome E3.
Yeah.
You figure Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to be in a good place to show.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one thing I'd like to see.
Me too.
And we're going to see, obviously, Watch Dogs 3.
Yep. I think we'll see
For the
that.
first time.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to come out in November, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, they have to have it for November, basically, unless...
No, because Watch Dogs 3 is taking Assassin's Creed's slot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they've said.
But Assassin's,
They could get away with it, though, if they just put out that Ghost Recon.
Ubisoft considers that stuff to be a different audience than the
That's
Assassin's
fair.
Creed, so you got to hit both.
That's fair. Yeah. Particularly for Assassin's Creed and Beyond Good and Evil. Those are definitely different audiences.
And Watch Dogs is...
Watch Dogs
similar
is like
thing.
Wildlands.
Watch Dogs is...
It just takes it a little farther.
Well, Watch Dogs is not gun-related, really. It's more tech
Gadget.
stuff.
Yeah, tech.
And Watch Dogs also takes place in the Assassin's Creed universe. So.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
The Ubisoft cinematic game universe.
Yeah. Yep. So you guys have probably been staring at that lower third and wondering, why are we going to talk about an Apple monopoly on GameFace? Oh, that's right. We do need to get to the poll of the week. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. So our poll of the week for GameFace was centered around this game, was centered around Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and it was kind of related to the discussion that we just had. So bring it up, Sam. So the GameFace poll of the week was, what did you think of the Ghost Recon Breakpoint debut? And the options we gave you, what?
I didn't expect that many people to not care.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? So the options were love the serious tone, Looks like an expansion. I need to see more. Don't care about this IP. So, yeah, 50% of people do not care about Ghost Recon.
I just it goes to my point about how this is one of the
Yet
rare.
it sold 30 million copies.
It's one of the rare games that is a massive, massive hit and did not and does not have to appeal to the core gaming demographic.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's not the core gaming demographic that takes a game from 3 million sales to 20 million.
In this case, it seems to be doesn't even take it from anywhere.
From anywhere to anything, yeah. But you can see, looks like an expansion, only 6%. It by far the lowest on the poll. But no matter what, 75% of people were basically I'm not sold. Mm-hmm. That's really what the takeaway is of this poll. 75% of the people were I don't know. And then 20% were. It seems 20% recognized that at least there was a little bit of a tonal shift in the game.
I recognize the serious tone shift, but I still think it looks like an expansion.
So you would have tried to answer twice.
Yes. Because there's definitely a tone shift, but that doesn't mean it plays any different.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see.
Well, E3, I'm sure it'll be playable all up and down the floor.
Yep. And if you're not happy with our poll results, then you need to follow us on Twitter at SIFTD and vote in the poll every week and have your voice heard. All right, let's move on. You're probably wondering, like I said earlier, why are we going to talk about the Apple monopoly? Because it could have a huge impact on the games business. So for those of you who don't know, I believe it was a Supreme Court judge ruled that iTunes is a monopoly and that customers are able to sue Apple for that in a class action lawsuit. Now you may say, okay, well, maybe iTunes is a monopoly. Maybe it is. I mean, I guess it is.
In the sense that there's no meaningful competition, but it's not like they forcibly kill competition. Anyone can start an iTunes competitors. Nobody thinks it's a good idea.
No one's going to use it. Yeah. So basically, the judge just opened up Apple to be sued for billions of dollars over basically nothing. But how does this relate to games? Well, how it relates to games is, if you think about it, your favorite console has basically the same thing. If you own a PlayStation, PSN is the same thing as iTunes. There's no other service on PlayStation where you can go to buy games or rent movies. Actually, there is, like Vudu or something on PlayStation.
Well, see, I read some of it. That's a non-starter because there is another place you can buy games and movies for your PlayStation 4. It's called a store.
You mean like going to retail?
Yeah. The problem with iTunes is there's no other way to get that music. There's no physical Apple. You can't go to an Apple store and buy CDs and put them in iTunes that way. That's what the problem. The walled garden is so walled that the only way to get content for it is to go inside that infrastructure. Whereas, that could become a problem if once the all digital future becomes a thing.
Right.
That's probably another good reason to not eliminate physical copies of discs yet. Before someone figures out how that works. Because look, it's not a matter of we can never go away from physical because otherwise we'll get nailed for being a monopoly. It's about give us time for our lobbying groups to change the laws to suit the way we want to do business, and then we'll get rid of physical media.
Right.
Because that's how business works.
It does, yeah.
So I don't think it's an issue really in the immediate future unless you're Apple. Although Apple was considering very strongly getting rid of iTunes anyway and going to a more Spotify sort of service.
Well, they already have it, Apple Music.
Yeah, but I mean, they would literally be getting rid of the purchasing thing.
You wouldn't be able to buy music from
wouldn't
Apple at all.
You'd just be having the Apple Music subscription.
Interesting.
Which I feel would be a thing the artists and record labels would have a few things to say about.
Yeah, because they hate Spotify.
Yeah, because they make more money off of actual individual sales.
Yeah.
So there's a sea change coming in how Apple handles music, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next year or two. And this is just part of that landscape.
My wife got a free subscription to Apple Music for signing up with Verizon or something, and she loves it. Loves it. I've never even used Spotify. I got Apple Music for free when I got my new iPhone, and I never even downloaded it. I'm still old school, buy music and buy CDs or buy MP3s, things like that. So I guess I'm a little bit outdated in that way. So you don't think that this will have anything to do or have any impact on Xbox or Sony?
I don't see it really, no.
just because you can buy games at retail.
Well, you're not forced to use the digital marketplace controlled by them to buy content for it. Like, you can go and buy it at a brick and mortar and control the content that way. Like, that's the legal argument you'd use to get out of that.
You can use that argument with Apple too, though, because I can buy music anywhere and then put it on my iPod.
Yeah,
or my iPhone.
but nobody does that.
I do.
Well, you're weird.
That's what I just said. I just said that's what I do.
Like, I think physical music sales and physical video game sales are two very different beasts right now in the market. And if anyone you could theoretically bring suit to PlayStation or Microsoft on that, but like, I think their counter would be like, well, if you don't like doing that, just go to the store and buy it on a disc. That's a harder sell for Apple, in large part because the gaming market is a smaller. Obviously, there's digital only stuff, but the big stuff is always going to be available on disc. Far fewer games are released for these platforms than music is released. Period. It's not like you could go to, like, say, Best Buy or Walmart and get the music selection variety that you could get just by browsing iTunes. Whereas if you go to your average video game section, you've got, like, most of the main stuff. You
don't, though, because if you think about PSN or Xbox Live, it has that gigantic back catalog.
Yeah, but that's
and if you go to the store, it's rotating. So as games become old, 6 months old, they're taken off the shelves, and you can't buy it at the store anymore.
Yeah, but then that's not a monopoly argument. That's an argument for why it's good for the consumer, because then you don't have to worry about scarcity. Like, there's a counter for everything on the video game thing, as long as those physical discs still exist as a major source of revenue, which they still are, because otherwise the NPD wouldn't still count them, and we'd be trying to shift to, like, digital sales, which I know we are, but, like, none of the companies will tell us what anything sells.
Well, there's a recent study that showed that the shift to digital isn't as extreme as everyone's making it out to be. That retail still drives the industry, brick and mortar.
I would say in the AAA space, that's certainly very true.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously, digital sales are becoming more and more adopted, and I think for online-centric games like Destiny or whatever, you're going to see a lot of digital sales, maybe even in the majority. I know that's what EA seems to be claiming for Anthem. Because apparently Anthem sold very well, but you're sure not seeing that in the physical retail sales.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, Anthem's a game that I certainly wouldn't mind not having physical, because what good does a physical copy of that game ever do you? Like, you can't play it offline, and whenever it goes away, now you just have a useless disc.
Well, you could sell it to someone still.
Who also wants a useless disc. I mean, you're really leaning on the collector's market at that point.
I mean, no, it's still a key. It's still the key to play the game. I mean,
when Anthem goes away in the future.
Then it's just worthless, yeah. Even the digital version is going to be worthless.
Oh, yeah. But like
everything will be.
But at least the digital version didn't create more landfill waste, right?
Yeah, but I mean, conceivably, you could have bought Anthem on disc and then played it and then sold the disc and got some of your money back, which you can't do with digital at all, so.
True. You just have to yell at Sony until they relent.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say is it does seem like Sony is more protected from this than Microsoft, because Sony does have, like I said, it has Voodoo, so you don't have to rent movies from Sony on PS4 or probably PS5. You can use some other program. Microsoft doesn't seem to have as much of that kind of peripheral stuff on Xbox Live, though. It seems more closed than PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of... I just don't think it's an issue. Like,
I mean, honestly, it shouldn't have really been an issue for Apple, to be honest.
I mean, it's an issue for Apple because they've just ended up as the only game in town for purchased digital music. Like, everything else is gone. Whereas, like, just straight up, you can be like, well, the only things you really can only get digitally on PlayStation Network is indie stuff that Sony published. It's not even indie if Sony published it, really.
Yeah.
But like, you could get most of the stuff that's also available
games.
digital on Steam or on Microsoft's store or sometimes on Switch. Like, you have other options. So by definition, that's not a monopoly. That's not an antitrust problem. The only stuff that's like really there that you can only get on Sony is Sony's game, God of War, Days Gone, which is selling in Japan in numbers that I don't understand.
Yeah, weird.
I guess we're getting another one of those, maybe.
I don't know if we are.
If Japan
loves
it so much.
100K sales, that's nothing.
No, but...
That is nothing.
It did pretty well.
Yeah, that's 100... Yeah, I mean, for Japan, that's 100K.
Still sold okay. Like, it didn't blow the doors off anything, but it seems like it sold like Detroit Become Human levels.
Right. You think that's enough for a sequel for a game that's that big?
I don't know.
I mean, you see what happened with Quantic after Detroit sold the way it did.
Yeah, but Detroit was like their third shot at that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't surprise. I think Sony would like to have another AAA developer in their back pocket. And
for sure.
I think Sony Ben could get there if you give him a couple more tries.
It's expensive experimentation.
Well, it's an expensive business.
Yeah.
You know, nobody knew if God of War was going to sell what it sold, but they spent all that money making it.
Well, it was Game of the Year.
Yeah, but they didn't know that before they released it. Like, you had to spend the money first.
Well, it was Sony Santa Monica.
You still got to spend the money first. Nothing's
Well,
guaranteed.
yeah, but it's pretty safe having. You could let Sony Santa Monica make a Bubsy game, and I think it would probably do pretty well.
I don't know. Like, it's still a risk. It's still a risk even doing a Spider-Man game. You don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
There's bigger risks than others.
There are, but like, you know, I wouldn't have greenlit Days Gone, but like,
Yeah.
it sold well enough that I think.
I mean, back when they started pitching it, I probably would.
I wouldn't shut Sony Bend down over it.
Oh,
you
no.
know?
No, definitely not. I'm not saying that.
So like, that's your other option.
No. The other option is they move on and create a new IP.
That worked so well this time. I think they should reiterate on what they got, because I agree with the reviews that said it's like a good proof of concept for a really nice sequel.
Yeah.
They could pull out something good if they, you know, once everything's in place now. But to get back to the monopoly thing, I just don't think it applies to. I don't think it applies remotely to a market that has so much competition. Like, it's just not comparable. Like, you have Microsoft and you have Sony and you have Nintendo all out there, and that's not even including PC, which now has even more competition thanks to Epic. It's just not. There's no comparison to be drawn between that and iTunes, which rules digital music purchases with an iron fist and has for like over a decade. Like, what was the last competitor to iTunes?
You mean on Apple devices?
No, in anything. Like, because I use non-iTunes stuff on my Apple stuff. I mean, I
You
gave
mean
up.
as far as going and buying music online?
No, I would use like other MP3 players.
Yeah.
But in terms of like buying music, like you could buy, like, I can buy MP3s on Amazon
Yeah,
and
you can
put
buy
them
them
in there.
Yeah.
So,
So wait, what was your question?
my question is, like, who's the competitor to iTunes? Like, who's the equivalent of like Microsoft to Apple's Sony? Like, there isn't one. Like,
No.
they just rule that roost.
I mean, I buy MP3s all over the place. I buy them from like Beatport and like everywhere. So there are competitors, but
not like that. I mean, it's
I don't think that's what the monopoly is, though. I don't think that's why the judge ruled that way. It's because people who have Apple platforms don't have another option. They've monopolized iOS, essentially. So if you need anything for iOS, games, music, whatever, you have to go through their storefront.
Well, then that's the App Store, not iTunes. Like,
Right.
You're talking about the full walled garden they have.
Yeah.
I guess I buy programs for Apple that's not on the App Store. Like, that's an odd. I mean, I guess, like, if you're not an informed consumer, you don't know you can do that, and that's
Yeah.
but that's the goal Apple wants to achieve. Obviously,
Yeah.
Like, they don't want you to know that you can do other things.
But when you talk about the Supreme Court, it's not about what they want, it's what you can do. I mean, it should be. It shouldn't be about perception. It should be either there is a way for people to get something
Right.
outside of here or there isn't.
I mean, I find it a little odd that would be the decision made on that. Like, it doesn't seem all that different from Microsoft, from Windows. You know, there's a Windows store, there's an Xbox store, and
Yeah.
all on there. If you want to just download stuff and install it on a MacBook, you can, like, from anywhere. Like, that's not exclusively through the App Store. That's weird.
And see, I'm still
Unless you want to specifically use, like, Apple products, then you're stuck with the App Store.
Yeah. See, I'm still confused by your analogy, though, of being able to go out and buy a game when I can go out and buy music. Like, I still don't understand it.
Well, because I thought you were saying that they made that judgment against iTunes.
They did. Against Apple in general.
I mean, you're talking about the App Store, that's different. Like, iTunes is a specific thing involving one industry. If the App Store is what they're making that judgment against, then that's a different beast.
But
And
I
understand that even less.
Right. But even if it were just iTunes, your analogy to me doesn't make sense because you can go buy music anywhere
Yeah, but
and put it on your phone or on your iPad.
Yeah, but the music industry, the physical music industry is dead in terms of, like, buying digital stuff physically to then put on your digital device. Like, it's not dead in the sense that, like, you know, vinyl exists, DJ culture exists, like all that stuff, but it doesn't. The music stuff doesn't exist in the way that, like, video game physical media does.
I mean, most of the stores have gone away. We're lucky. We live in LA, so we have Amoeba, which is freaking amazing. But you're right. Most places there aren't record stores, but you can go on Amazon and still buy CDs.
Yeah, but, like, who does that? That's what I mean.
That's not when you're talking about a monopoly, though. It doesn't matter what people do.
Yeah, but
it's that they have the option.
But you're
to.
assuming that the judge who made that judgment is aware of that.
Right.
And we're talking.
Well, he is like 80.
We're talking about You're talking about someone who was probably just told all this stuff by whoever did the research for him or whatever, what it was presented by. We're talking about a world in which the federal judge, you know, the Supreme Court heard when they were dealing with like the violence in video games, they were talking about Resident Evil, and the entire court case they called it the Resident of Evil Creek.
Yeah.
Like they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I know, I get that, but my point is if you're saying PlayStation and Xbox are safe because of that, they really shouldn't be, because Apple wasn't safe because of that. That's not why Apple ended up becoming sort of the...
Well, I gotta be missing something from your description of this then, because that doesn't make sense. Like there must be more to the ruling than just the iTunes thing. So I don't know what...
No, I mean, the ruling was that Apple is a monopoly because it controls all the content that can go onto your device.
But you're not forced to buy an Apple device, so I don't understand how that ruling works.
Well, they're saying people who have bought Apple devices were screwed, and so now they have the ability to file a class action lawsuit against Apple to try to get reparations.
That's weird.
It is weird. The whole thing is goofy. That's why we're talking about this.
That's
because
like saying
it's
that if I
so
bought a
goofy.
DVD player, I should be able to sue because I can't play VHS tapes on it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why we're talking about this, is because what they're doing to Apple doesn't make sense. And if that's what they're doing to Apple, they could absolutely do it to PlayStation or Xbox. Or
why would they?
Why would they do it to Apple?
Because Apple pissed Trump off.
Maybe. But maybe
he's still upset about the Tim Apple thing. I bet I would not be surprised whatsoever that this is where kind of that stemmed from.
That's the level of pettiness that we're at right now. You're right. But that doesn't change the fact...
Just hope Sean Layton doesn't piss anyone in Washington off, I guess.
Yeah. But that was my point, is that this Apple thing is absurd. And if you're going to allow that to happen to Apple, then it could absolutely happen to Xbox or PlayStation. That's all I'm saying. And it could happen. But you're right. Maybe there's a vendetta against Apple, or they think Apple is making so much money that they're worth going after, whereas they don't think the other two are. But it still cracks the door open for other services similar to what Apple offers to become a target.
This seems like a stretch. It seems like the usual gamer paranoia to me. Like, it's just like, oh, this thing happened, and that leaves this tiny crack of a thing open for them to destroy my hobby, and so I'm going to freak out about it.
I don't think it's just gamers. Most people are that way. I mean, you could talk about a million things where people think that. It's the slippery slope.
Right.
And the slippery slope works in all kinds of topics, not just games.
Yeah, but it seems to come up a lot more here.
It's possible.
Look,
I agree.
Look,
I don't think, like, now that this happened, like, tomorrow, there's gonna be a class, although Sony's already fought off and lost a couple class action lawsuits. But I don't think this is like opening the floodgates, and now the federal government is just going to start looking at every piece of hardware and do they have a proprietary service on that hardware that only people can access that stuff. I don't think that'll happen, but I think it opens the door for it to happen.
Well, I don't think it opens anything. It's probably not even going to hold up after a while. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because at that point it's like, well, then you can go after the smart TV you bought that has, like, you go to the Samsung thing and get the apps that way.
No, it's true. It's the same thing.
It doesn't, like,
it's the same thing.
But you can't, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't do that. And it's just...
They just did.
They made a ruling. It doesn't mean it's going to become a law of the land forever. Like things change. We're about to lose a very important decision that has been the law of the land for a long time. It's always reversible. And if it comes to business interests, anything's reversible. So... I'm sure they'll figure it out. It's not a thing. I mean, I need to read more about it if that's really what they're after. I saw some weird thing about, Apple lost some kind of antitrust judgment, and that means the PlayStation Store is next or some shit. It's just like, okay, like, I'll believe it when I see it. But like, I don't know how you let that judgment happen unless you have a very uninformed judge or a very poor legal team. Like, it just seems like you could make a lot of arguments about why is Apple not a monopoly? Because no one's forced to buy an Apple product. Like, Windows exists, Linux exists. Like, if you don't want to be part of that environment, you don't have to be.
I mean, that's true. It's totally true.
So what are they talking about?
I don't know. Maybe we should ask the judge that. What the hell he's talking about.
I have plenty of applications I've downloaded off of other things I didn't get through the App Store that I can play through my application. I mean, it's not like it's common, and it's not like it's much more convenient to go to the App Store because everything's just there. But if there's something that they don't offer, I can find it elsewhere. I have a bunch of stuff like that on my MacBook. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I still buy CDs, and that's how I get most.
I mean, they don't make it
music.
easy. Like importing some of the MP3s from other sites, like trying to get them on my phone is just a pain. I'm sure you could sue them for that. Like, how about making it easier to like?
No, I mean, if you use iTunes, it's just drag and drop.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work, and I can't just automatically sync stuff I buy from other sites. Like with my iTunes library, if I put in my iTunes library on my MacBook, my phone can't see that. I have to plug my phone in.
I don't have any problems like that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
My phone won't see it, so I have to...
That's strange. Mine doesn't do that.
I have to put anything I don't buy on iTunes itself directly onto my phone if I want to put it on there. It won't automatically load. Anything I buy through iTunes is already there to be downloaded if I want or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I also don't have my phone like sync fully every time I plug it in because I don't want the same.
I don't sync it at all. Because every time you do, it creates another 30 gigabyte backup on my hard drive.
Yeah, that's also
and my
a
hard
problem.
drive space is precious.
But no, anything I buy like off Amazon, like music I buy off Amazon or other things do not end up on my phone unless I specifically put it there.
Well, yeah.
So that's the thing that I could stand to have changed. But like, I don't think that's an antitrust issue.
No,
I just think it's a usability issue.
Yeah.
iTunes has sucked for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. I used to use Winamp back in the day.
I used Winamp, yeah.
I wonder if it still exists.
I don't know. I'm sure all my old Winamp skins won't work anymore.
That's right. I had skins too. In fact,
God, people were obsessed
that might
with
be
that.
the first time I ever heard of skins. Was with Winamp.
When was that?
Oh God.
I think the first.
90.
I mean, the first thing. First time I heard of skins was Quake.
Yeah, maybe.
Quake was when skins.
It was all around that same time, though. It's interesting. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Rage 2. It's our last topic of the show. Saved the big game for last, and it is undoubtedly the biggest topic of the week. The game just came out today, or last night, I guess if you're...
Ooh, chat's getting sassy with us.
Oh, really? Over what?
We're horribly uninformed and painful.
About what?
What we just talked about. I mean, I'll freely admit to that, but I didn't know we were talking about this, so...
What? They're calling us Apple fanboys? Why?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
I use a lot of Apple stuff, but like I think...
Well, wait. Let's not move on. Let's figure out what they think that we're saying is wrong. I'm not an Apple fanboy. I got like my first iPhone was the iPhone 5 like 10 years ago. I'm not an Apple fanboy.
You resisted the Apple call for a long time.
Yes, like you guys are full of it. I'm just telling the truth and what I think from my heart. I know that may be hard for some people to understand because so many people in our industry don't do it, but that's how I roll. So what do we got wrong? What are they saying?
Winamp does still exist. Hooray.
Does it? Is that what they're pissed off about?
No, too fast.
That we left Winamp for iTunes? We should still be on Winamp?
I have not jailbroken anything, and I download stuff on my MacBook without the App Store all the time, so that's wrong. Phones, yes, but that's a different issue.
Yeah, I mean, I can put anything on my phone that I want. I have to plug it into my PC, and I can just drag and drop it onto my phone.
I think he's talking about like app. You can't install third-party apps on the iPhone.
Yeah.
But I can install...
And they say that that's like protecting you or whatever, but it really is just to close off the system. I don't see where people are complaining, honestly, other than someone calling us Apple fanboys, which is bullshit.
Look at 1X Solo. Next time, read up more on a topic, please. This segment was painfully misinformed. Seriously. Johnny Hurricane. Boy, we should really stick to video games, huh? It's all in there.
Those are the only two I see.
Well, it's not like we got hundreds of people in chat.
I'm curious what you guys think that we said that we were uninformed about.
Well, apparently it's about phones, not about just the general store.
Oh. Okay.
That's what they're saying. It's about the actual phones.
I don't know how that changes our discussion, though.
I don't know.
I don't either. Okay. Well, we're going to move on anyway. We're going to make you happy, and we're going to talk more about video games.
I haven't read the actual details on what this ruling was, so I didn't...
I did read. I read a couple stories about it.
Right. Well, I just didn't expect it to come up because it's not game-related.
It is game-related.
Well, if you're paranoid, it's game-related.
I'm definitely not paranoid. It's the topics on this show are to generate interesting discussion. That's it, around games.
Well, I'll wait until Sony gets sued before I worry about it.
Okay, well, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Rage 2. The game just came out today or last night if you're on the East Coast and decided to do a midnight sale. I've been playing it since Saturday. I got review code like Saturday afternoon. I played about 14 hours roughly. I feel like I'm almost done with it, which is really shocking to me. I'm nowhere near like 100%ing the map or anything like that, but the narrative seems to be winding down.
It seems about right for an open world main story.
Yeah?
Yeah, most of the... like, if you burn through that... I mean, not Assassin's Creed like Odyssey or something, but most of these kind of shooting open world games, I feel like they're about 15 to 20 hours if you just beeline.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I can't do that.
Like
'cause
Far
I'm not- it's
Cry,
not
we just
my-
played. That was supposed to be like a little offshoot, and it took me like almost 30 hours to finish the campaign.
Yeah, but that one, I think if you got to the end of that campaign without like some serious, like almost fully upgraded, it was really hard.
Yeah.
Like they seem to expect you
It
to
was
play the
challenging.
whole thing.
Yeah.
On that.
And look, the playtime I'm at, it's not like I've checked everything off the map. Like I've been playing the main missions and the side missions, and then if I stumble across stuff like as I'm driving around, then I'll tackle it. But it's not as big as Days Gone. It's not a 60 to 80 hour game that would kind of
It doesn't really have a very big map, really.
Yeah, the map's not especially big either. And I think there are reasons for that. What are your impressions? So let's set up the story first and give a plot synopsis. So
Rage came out a while ago, and it was a little weird and didn't end very well, and so we're just going to jump 30 years ahead and forget that.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Because the end of Rage was basically you brought the arcs that like had all the people sleeping in them like back up, and like it was supposed to be like everybody came out of the arcs and now life was going to be different. And it turns out in Rage 2 that everyone just fought wars for like 30 years, and now all the people that came out of the arcs are like 50 or 60, and there's a new generation. And you don't create a character, you pick male or female character, and then the character you don't pick gets horribly killed like 50 seconds later.
I thought that was pretty clever, actually.
And then your character's like, well, better you than me. I'm just like, oh, there's some real camaraderie in these barracks over here. And you're like, basically, you've been trained as like the next generation of what are called Rangers, which seem to just be like really badass soldiers who have like nanites in their blood, superhuman abilities, and wear a special armor outfit, like kind of like a Master Chief sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in the core, it opens with the Vineland, your stronghold being attacked by the Authority, the cyborg monsters.
Most generically named enemies of all time.
I mean,
of course they're called the Authority.
So generic they could be in Destiny. Yeah. And they could be the 4th enemy faction in Destiny or the 5th enemy faction in Destiny. And they attack and destroy everything. They kill your mentor, your aunt, and during the course of the battle, they kill one of the Rangers, and you take his armor. In a surprisingly graphic scene in which you're peeling his limbs out of the various components of armor.
Yeah, this
and you
game
put it
generally
on.
doesn't pull any punch. Don't forget that he just had his head bit off.
Yeah, he had his head bit off by a giant monster.
In fact, go to the B-roll, Sam, because we're kind of talking through the beginning of the B-roll right now.
And so after that, like basically, and at the end of the battle, you're the last Ranger left, which means you have to go out and kind of reestablish connections with all the different settlements and find all the arcs that have been unopened, and all the arcs upgrade your nanite abilities. So you get that's how you get new weapons. It's how you get new abilities. You get like superhuman abilities like that. You can do like dash dodges or double jumps or force pushes, ground pounds. Like you.
I admittedly hardly ever use that.
I don't have everything yet. I'm much early. I'm only like 3 hours in, but the main one I use is the force push, because it knocks armor off people.
Eventually, there are some parts of the game where you have to use specific actions from that, like the dash. Like there's a boss you fight where you have to use the dash or you'll never beat the boss. But for like moment-to-moment gameplay, like I hardly ever use it.
Yeah, well, it's also like it's all controlled by the left bumper.
Yeah.
And like I find it a little awkward.
It is awkward because you have to basically... Yeah, you have to hold that left bumper and then do a movement.
Button, or move a direction with the left stick and press the left bumper.
And then hit a button.
And yeah, it's a little rough. It's not as smooth as it probably should be. But that's basically it. They give you 3 people you're supposed to go find. Each one is connected to a different ability unlock tree, and they set you loose.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this evil cyborg you're seeing right now. General, what's his name? Stone
General Cross.
General Cross. Yeah, that's what his name is. And he's like half human, half machine.
More than half machine.
Yeah.
He also
pretty much just a human
has
brain.
a face in his chest. Look at that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a mean face on his chest. That's like the cyborg version of a skull tattoo, I guess.
I think the first piece of opinion I'm going to give on this game is the story and the setting, and I don't like it. The world is like repugnant, and maybe that's part of the goal.
I think it's definitely intentional.
But the character models are really hard to look at, and just like the art style is very weird. playing the game compared to the marketing. So the marketing was all like day glow and neon and like this kind of a punk rock aesthetic to it. But when you play the game, it doesn't really feel that way.
There you saw the character you didn't pick just got crushed by a door.
Yeah.
It's still there, but it's only there in like weird, like your GPS guidance thing is like neon pink.
Yeah.
And like
the boxes are like
the boxes are bright.
Like the loot boxes are.
Sometimes they'll send up like little firework things in places, or like the Feltrite, which is the magic energy source, glows like a neon blue, like an electric blue. So it's there, but like most of it looks like this. It's just sort of like general green and brown and gray
shooter,
with various things on fire surrounding it. There's some cool stuff. I mean, it runs very well. Like you saw on the Xbox One X, it runs at a pretty solid 60 frames. Very smooth. It has some pretty bad pop-in on
PS4 Pro, same.
On when you're driving fast in the vehicles.
Trees just drawing in front of you. And
I kind of like the world. I think it's kind of a nice... it is very bleak and it's very grotesque, and it's not a place you'd want to visit.
There's the scene we were talking about.
There's the ranger dying. It is graphic in ways that like a lot of games aren't.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
and like it's just like you go to towns and like everyone's either snide to you, yelling at you, or crying in a corner.
But no matter what, there's way too many of them talking at once.
Yeah, there's no.
It is insane how many voices are playing at once sometimes in this game. Like literally, like 30 people will be talking at once, and it's like all coming from different directions. Like it's pretty crazy. Like the audio in this game is pretty freaking good. Yeah. That is one thing. That is probably one of the strongest parts of this game, other than the gunplay.
Yeah, the audio's good, and like the audio and the gunplay match up well in a lot of places. The guns sound good. They feel good. Similar, I think there's some Destiny actually influence in this, in the sense that like,
the headshots,
the headshots in particular, but fighting like feels good with the guns. But like the headshot, when you blow a guy's head off, you get a little skull icon, you get a little pop sound, and their head pops, and all like the Feltrite and loot kind of pops out of them. It's got that same sort of like addictive quality that that headshots in Destiny have.
I believe it is the best headshot in the history of video games.
It's real good.
It is very good. It is very satisfying. It makes you want to just keep doing it.
When I kill a guy without using a headshot, I am disappointed.
I hate myself.
Yeah. Like, I didn't get to do a headshot. Like it's
seriously, it's hard to put into words, but the feet, everything about it, the sound effects that are playing, the feedback you feel in your hands, the fact that when the head pops, one of the gems always flies straight up in the air. You get the icon. It is just perfect. And it teaches you to keep doing it, and that's how you have to. Like, you have to deliver headshots constantly, or you'll get your ass kicked in this game. And the good news is the game encourages you to do it, teaches you how to do it, and once you learn how to do it, you want to keep doing it.
Yep.
It feels awesome. The gunplay in this game is sublime. It feels so good.
It's also one of the only shooters I enjoy using a shotgun in.
Yeah, man.
I'm usually not a shotgun fan, but the shotgun in this is really good.
Oh yeah, it feels so good, and that's what I would say about this game is gunplay awesome. Everything else average to poor.
It's I haven't played it long enough to get tired of it yet. So it's probably like you just have seen more of it.
Yeah, the missions start getting really repetitive really quickly.
But like I said, it's like, how like the repetition in Days Gone hurt it a lot for me. Like repetition's okay with me if I enjoy what I'm doing.
If it's great. Yeah.
And I don't see myself getting tired of blowing heads up in this game.
Look, I never get tired of fighting. It's like I hate the art design in this game. The characters and the voice acting just grate on my nerves. It's like,
I can't find a full voice cast for this, but I'm pretty sure the computer voice when you go into the arc pods and I'm pretty sure that's the same woman who did the voice of Failsafe in Destiny 2.
Oh, really?
Because it's the same performance. It's the same sort of like relentlessly chirpy but also sort of sinister thing. It might not be her because she is an actual like mainstream. She's been in Santa Clarita Diet and a few like real shows. So maybe they just, whoever the voice actress is, they might have just said, here, we're gonna play this clip of Failsafe, make it like this. But one way or the other, the ARC AI computer is definitely based on Failsafe from Destiny. I think there are big fans of Destiny over here at whoever made this.
Understand Avalanche.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually see that this game was co-developed by Avalanche and id, and it is absolutely split 50-50 right down the middle between those two studios.
It is exactly what you think that that chocolate and peanut butter combination would be.
It is to a T, man. Like the gunplay, id 100%. It feels like a more fluid, more open Doom, and that is freaking great. The game design, the level design is basically Mad Max from Avalanche.
Yeah.
They've just taken.
It's like imagine if Mad Max was fun to play.
Pretty much. Yeah, you're right. Because look, there's a kind of an audience for Mad Max. There's this growing group of people who have enjoyed the game.
You just drove past the BFG.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was given away for free at certain points, and people got to try it and didn't have to shell out money for it, and found that it was actually not a terrible game. So you see the open world stuff from that, and then you see the gunplay and the combat that you get from id with games like Doom. And in all honesty, I would say the first Rage. A lot of people are probably wondering, why is this called Rage?
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I can understand why they would ask.
At first glance, it's like, okay, it's post-apocalyptic, and you have that wing stick thing, which I never used because I can't figure out how to use it right.
I never used it. I've never used it. Like they gave it to me, I threw it once, and I never threw it again. So like all the skill trees that are related to that thing, like I just ignore them.
I just use grenades.
You can do crazy stuff with it though. Like if you boost out your skill tree, you can curve them and manually control like where they fly while they're flying, which is cool. Yeah. But just throw a grenade.
But shit's happening so fast. Like, I'm pretty happy with the way like they handle the health in this.
Yeah, it's different.
Because the way the health works is you don't regenerate really. Maybe a little tiny sliver or something. You don't really regenerate. You have health packs that you can
you regenerate like 10 health after you get out of a skirmish.
It's nothing. Yeah. It's not much. And like then you have health packs that you can like use whenever you want. You carry a limited number and use them, and like it charges you up like 50% or something. And then every time enemies die, they drop the glowing feltrite shards, and those are kind of like the little armor pieces in Doom where they do like 2 or 3 health per. And you can use you hold LB and do focus, and you can suck them in.
Yeah.
But the trick on that is like, so every time you kill an enemy, you do have an opportunity to get some life back, but it's not so much life that you can be reckless about it. And the fact that you don't regenerate means you have to keep moving forward and doing that. You run out of health regenerators real fast if you're reckless. And so I feel like it really I feel like they did a good job like figuring out a way to make a health system that's not frustrating, but also doesn't make it too easy for you.
Yep.
So I think, I think you're right that the world is sort of the weak link on this, but I do feel like they put a lot of thought into the gameplay where it counts.
Absolutely. The gameplay, I love it, man. I love playing this game. But it's the stuff in between that I dislike. Like, I don't like interfacing with any of the characters in this game. I have not met a single character in this game that I liked. Not one.
I'm trying to think. I kind of like the woman in the boardroom, like the one. She's one of the upgrade people.
Okay.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, she's not bad.
I can't remember her name because she doesn't have an actual human name, or at least it's a name I've never heard of before. The doctor is just gross.
All of them. Like you'll meet more, and they just get worse and worse. Like there's this woman who lives in like a brothel or whatever. And it was embarrassing playing it with Michelle, my wife, in the room. It was, I felt awful. Like, it's one of those moments where you're like, yeah, this does not make me look good. Because it was just this woman who was trying to be sexy, but she was like 80 years old, and like, and the dialogue just kept going on and on. It's like, I get it, you're a madam. I don't want sex. Just let me leave so I don't have to listen to you talk anymore. There's tons of characters like that in this game.
Yeah, well, it's not the most carefully crafted script in the history of game. I mean, just while you were here, when you first got here, I found sheriff spelled wrong.
Yeah.
in one of the characters' name titles, unless sheriff misspelled is supposed to be his first name.
And that wasn't a bit character either. That's a character that gives you...
That was a speaking character.
Yeah, that gives you missions, yeah. The other thing I would say that would be a criticism is that unlike a lot of open world games, there's really not a whole lot to do in between locations.
Yeah, there's a lot of like random but they're all hanging out and like fighting around, and like to their credit, like every time you pass a car, they don't instantly try to suicide run into you and you get where you need to go. But like, I've stopped a few times to have like those fights, and there's no reward for there's no real reward for it unless it's part of like if it's part of like a bounty or a contract that is obviously going to give you a reward. Like there's no reason to stop and get into random altercations.
Yeah. And like there's stuff like this, like you'll come across gas stations, you have to blow up like all the tanks.
Like these are like established locations where you have to blow up all the tanks, you kill all the goons, and you find all it's like your standard complete the location open world thing.
And there are nests where you go, and I'll say one thing, the nests in this game are brutal. Like there are literally, some of them have like 40 or 50 enemies you have to kill before you take them over.
That's where the shotgun becomes important.
Yeah, I mean just anything.
Best anti-mutant weapon.
You survive by any means necessary, basically. Some of them are pretty challenging. But what I'm talking about more about travel is that it's just a dirt road in between two locations. Like most games that are open world now, you have wildlife to deal with in between. You have like nature to deal with in between. This is literally just a dirt road that goes from point A to point B.
And you don't really have the option of like driving off it because the vehicle, at least the vehicle I have now, maybe the later ones fly. There's gyrocopters or something.
I don't have a copter still.
I've seen a gyrocopter like unlockable, but I haven't found it.
I haven't got one yet.
But like basically, if you go off the road, it's really easy to get stuck.
Oh yeah, you go off the road, you get stuck. And like I got stuck and couldn't figure out how to get unstuck and started trying to use grenades to like blow my vehicle off of
Halo
the stuff.
style.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work. And then I just started searching through the menus, and pro tip, in the menus, you can reset your vehicle by clicking and holding L3. You'll thank me next week. But
and you can also summon the vehicle.
You can. Yeah, again by clicking L3. It'll cost you money though. Yeah, a little bit. But again, it's like all this stuff that bothers me, like once I start fighting, it doesn't matter. It just feels so good and so fun and so active and so fast. Like you, I've been playing on PS4 Pro, not on Xbox One X, but it runs like lightning. I have had a few moments of slowdown, like noticeable slowdown, like not like you need like a meter to tell you it's slowing down, like you can tell. But that has happened to me when I'm in the buggy and not during combat.
I haven't seen any slowdown yet, but I don't think I've really been anywhere particularly busy yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm just sort of driving through the...
No, even these moments, it wasn't like I was driving through a big metropolis. I just turned the wrong way at the wrong time, and the engine wasn't ready for it.
I haven't seen that on the X. The main thing I've seen on the X is driving over a certain speed, the pop-in and geometry kind of, that geometry, shifting you see, like... becomes real obvious.
Yeah.
Also, there's some weird lighting glitches.
Here's what I love about this game, though. It does have the enemy behavior from the first game.
Yeah. Once you get into the first mutant den, like this is why they called it Rage, because they kept that sort of the sort of the trademark Rage thing where you're like the crazy bald guy running at you and flipping off the walls. And
they'll run on the walls. They'll run on railings.
The mutants fight like that.
They'll fight from the ceilings. When they leap like 15 or 20 feet.
Yeah. And also to his credit, if you shotgun them in the middle of the air when they're leaping at you, they fly back and stop, and it's very satisfying.
It feels so good. It feels so good.
And everything you do ties into some kind of extra thing that lets you upgrade something. Like you never. The biggest contrast with Days Gone, besides the fact that the shooting works properly, is that you always feel like what you're doing is driving you towards improving your character and upgrading, and like the slog just isn't there.
Yeah. And Matt was saying earlier about how you have to find 3 people that you work for, and that's absolutely accurate. And so once you kind of open up the map and you have all the objectives on the map, everything is color-coded. So each one of those 3 characters has a color assigned to them. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to figure out, okay, if I want to work for this girl or this guy, you can look at their color and you can look at the map, and you can kind of string together a series of missions just by looking at the map. You can say, okay, well, I'm going to go all blue. I'm just going to go ding, 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 and take down 5 missions just for that guy. Mm-hmm. And you basically level up with each one of those 3 characters. And once you do, then that unlocks more upgrades for you that only that character can provide you. So if you want to access some of the abilities, you have to basically choose missions that will unlock that ability for you. You can't just say, I just need 5 more points. No, you need specific points for that specific person that you're working for.
I haven't had that happen.
Yeah, you can't even open the trees.
Well, you can't open the trees because you have to complete the first mission to work for them. The one thing I do like is
you level up with each character.
Yeah, but like their unlocks are the points you use to unlock that stuff is universal. It's just project points, which you continually get for various things. To the game's great credit, you might take a while before you get up to the part of the map where you unlock some of these trees, because two of the characters are pretty far up there.
Yeah, they're far north.
But when you're doing things like the different characters have different things that like level up their estimation of you, and when you level up their estimation of you, you get project points that you can spend on anything. But like that's how you get like 3 at once when you level up like that. Like it's like a reputation bar almost.
Yeah, it's
like,
a multiplier.
So like when you get when you pick up data pads, that levels up like the doctor guy, his estimation of you, and then like when you clear roadblocks, the trader is happy, and that kind of thing. But then like when you go to upgrade, but those upgrades, like those reputation things, even if you haven't met the character, you still get them when you're doing those things.
Oh, interesting.
So like I had already filled the bar on the doctor guy like 3 times by the time I found him, but I had been getting the points, the upgrade points.
Oh, that's good.
Beforehand, because you can use those points on anything. I didn't use them on his stuff because I'd spent them already. But like the fact that like doing his thing does not activate when you meet him in the quest, it's always there because otherwise you're cheated out of points.
Right. You'd be doing stuff and not getting rewarded for it.
So I've certainly played games that would not have been as friendly about that. So I appreciated that. That they know that like some people are just not going to want to beeline up through the whole map. They're going to want to do some stuff and explore, but you're not missing out on anything by doing that. Except for the fact that you can unlock those abilities, and some of those abilities are real good.
Yeah.
The doctor's abilities in particular are very useful, and if you're interested in clearing out the optional objectives on things, because they let you see where stuff is.
Yep. And then additionally, there are organized races where you literally do laps around a track. There's a Smash TV type arena thing that you can play,
which is in the first one.
It was,
which is funny. Like when I came around, I recognized it because it's the same town from the first Wellspring.
Yeah.
And I came around, I'm like, oh, I know where this is. This is the arena thing. Cool.
Yep.
So there is some of that. The vehicle combat is way better.
Yeah,
than the first
I
one.
still don't do much of it.
I don't do much of it, but I did hardly any of it in the first one because your thing was so fragile and it cost so much. But now it's like everything's very player friendly, and you can.
The enemies on the road don't even really attack you.
No, only if you go after them.
Yeah, like they'll be fighting each other and they'll just drive past you and just keep going.
I mean, I appreciate that because if I'm going somewhere, I got somewhere to be. I don't necessarily want to get bogged down in a bunch of vehicle combat. But
how do you like the roving salesman?
Oh, the trader guy?
Yeah.
I haven't actually interacted with him.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I've seen him, but I haven't bought anything from him.
So if you're not in a town, there's a guy who drives around in what looks like an ice cream truck.
Yeah, it's like a little ice cream truck.
And if you honk your horn, he'll stop, and then basically that's a vendor that you can buy stuff from, which is kind of a different way to do things.
Yeah, handy.
He reminds me a little bit of the merchant from Resident Evil 4, where he just like kind of pops up places. You're like, where the hell did you come from? Like he's kind of like that. Like you're just driving down the road by yourself, and next thing you know, here comes the ice cream truck. So here's the big question, and the question everybody wants to know. It just came out today. Should people buy it? No multiplayer at all.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't bother me.
I know, obviously, but it will affect someone's purchase decision.
Yeah. Did Rage have multiplayer?
Yeah, it did.
Did it?
Yeah. Just like races, I think it was.
That's his car stuff.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I'm happy with it, but I'm only 3 hours into it.
Yeah.
And maybe in another 10 hours I'll be sick of it. But I don't think so. Like I feel like I'm always going to want to go shoot things in this game as long as they're willing to let me. I am already sort of feeling the bore of the the transit.
Yeah.
But
you can fast travel, by the way. We should have mentioned that.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I basically am like beelining to those 3 characters to unlock the trees and also unlock the fast travel to their locations, because once you get their locations fast travelable, you have pretty good access to all the corners of the map.
Yep.
I feel pretty good about it. Like I like it. It feels really good to play.
It does. And as a gameplay first guy, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
But I'll say this: people who buy games for story and things like that,
it's not what you're here for.
You steer clear of this game.
And again,
it's not for you.
It is. I mean, look, I have a very high tolerance for gore and unpleasantness and nonsense like that. We've had that conversation about Mortal Kombat fatalities before, and so this doesn't bother me. But you're right; it's a very grotesque game.
It's just gross.
Yeah,
the game is just gross. That's the best way to describe it.
And I think it's intentional. I think they are really trying to be kind of
it just is off-putting. It's not an enjoyable aesthetic.
No, and it's not an enjoyable world. It's a it's a terrible place that you
It
would
really
never,
is,
you would
yeah.
never want to be, even by like video game world standards.
Yeah.
It's a really nasty location they've chosen, but like it fits like what they're
Yeah.
with what they're trying to do.
It does.
And I do love like there's a lot of like debris everywhere. Like every time you run over anything or hit anything, like
You feel it.
junk flies everywhere. Panels fly off walls when you throw grenades. Like you feel. I mean,
There are even bumps on the road
Yeah.
that you'll be driving down the road, and all of a sudden your buggy just gets tossed like 10 feet off to the side of the road. Like, it is an unpredictable game.
Armor flies off people, and like in,
It's so
lands up
rewarding,
there.
man.
It's there's a lot
Parts
of
of
cool
it
stuff.
are so great.
Yeah,
It's like
I
you
don't
say-
think I don't think it's in the game of the year conversation or anything. But like
No.
I'm in this middle, especially in the middle of this drought. It's
Oh,
nice
yeah.
to have.
What
something
else
that
you
feels
gonna
that
play?
good. Yeah.
And from that regard, I think it is worth the purchase. Like, if you're a person who buys one game a month,
Yeah.
this is a game you should buy for
Yeah.
May. Yeah.
Unless you just hate open world stuff.
Or you just don't like shooters or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, for obvious reasons, some people
But even
would
as
buy
someone
it,
who's
but-
not particularly enamored of shooters these days, I think this is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the challenge levels just
Yeah.
right.
And like adding in the superhuman abilities and like all that stuff kind of keeps things interesting, and like that I enjoy that. The constant upgrading is cool. There's like you can upgrade the guns, you can upgrade your abilities, you can upgrade new abilities, you can upgrade. I mean, there's like 5 different ways to upgrade things. You upgrade the vehicles, you can do. I mean, there's all these
Everything.
ways to change things and upgrade things and customize it the way you like it.
Almost too much.
It's on the
be
borderline.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So far it hasn't crossed that for me, but we'll see how much of a grind that becomes later on.
Yep. But I have enjoyed my time playing this game
Yeah.
with the controller in my hand.
More than I thought I would, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I had hopes for this game, but it pretty much came through.
Yeah, I had played it at last year's E3, and I had just kind of got a taste of the combat. I don't know if you remember or not, but I was like, oh yeah, like, this game is a blast to play. But what's going to happen with the rest of it? And I would say that the rest of it, it's not bad, it's not good. I think some people will like it more than others, but for me personally, I really didn't like it at all. But when I'm shooting enemies and their heads are popping off, I don't worry about anything else. So if you can understand that kind of a logic, then maybe it'll help you figure out whether you should buy it or not. It really is all about the experience with the controller in your hand, which I don't think you would have ever got that from the marketing of the game leading up to launch.
No, it's at the very least it's a good placeholder until Doom Eternal comes out.
Yeah.
In terms of just if you're after that kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
And it does. I do think it's impressive that they managed to make something that feels like in the same ballpark as good as Doom.
But it's not a circle strafer.
Yeah, it's not a circle strafe. It's not.
Yeah.
It's an open world game where you're
Yeah.
doing stuff and like it doesn't. It is still, the challenge is still there. Like the health system is not there to like make life easy for you,
Yeah.
but it does. It feels like a good balance. Like. Yeah, like if it had a more compelling narrative and writing and characters in it, I think it would be a really, really strong, recommendation without any hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as it is, it's just like if you want to feel really nice shooting and decent everything else,
Yeah.
there
There you go. How do you think this game's going to do?
I have no idea. Like
Bethesda
I really don't know.
really, really needs a hit, man.
They do.
Really bad.
I mean, I feel like this should do pretty well, but like the history of everything that's not Fallout and Elder Scrolls for them just seems to
Not
be
pretty.
this constant underperforming disaster.
And I think the Metacritic's below an 8 now, too.
Oh, is it? That's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Honestly, that's
not necessarily
pretty
wrong.
accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. Like, if I were reviewing this on a 7 to 10 scale, it would get 7.5-ish, something like that. Maybe a little higher.
Yeah,
I think the Metacritic on it's pretty accurate.
I'd probably go closer to an 8 at
Yeah.
this point. But again, I'm very early into it, and I might be more sick of it later.
Yeah, it wears on you a little bit. But again, I'm way farther than you, and I'm still loving the gunplay just as much as you.
73.
73.
Wow.
It's better than that. I'll say that
Yeah,
much.
it is better than that.
Yeah. Having played a lot of it is better than that. So there you go.
The ratings are harsh these days. Between this and Days Gone.
Oh, GameSpot gave it a 6.
Wow.
GameSpot has returned to the way it was when I worked there back in 2000 and 2001. Like, it's gotten tough on scores out of nowhere for whatever reason. I don't know if maybe they got a new head of editorial there or something, but seems like they've been really tough on games the last couple months. But yeah, there you go. We'll probably return to this game after Matt spent more than 3 hours. At least we'll at least mention it a little bit in next week's episode. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something happens and the game is 50 hours long. It doesn't seem like it.
I mean, it might be.
You kind of know when things are
It
wrapping
might be
up.
if you do everything. But
Yeah.
that's not really the same thing.
I would never do that. So, and I don't do that in other games that take me 60 hours to finish them. So, you can always trust me to play the same amount of every game.
I do wonder if there's going to be any kind of like DLC or anything. There's supposed to be like new missions, right?
Yeah.
Like later in the summer, there's like one thing and then something in
Yeah.
the fall.
They haven't talked about it a ton, though.
No. But I would, if they're very combat focused, I would play more.
Yeah,
Probably.
for sure. If they're combat focused, I'm there. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week. It was one of those weeks where I had to actually choose instead of just saying, here's the one good one for a game that we're not talking about on the show. There were lots of good trailers this week, but I decided on the new Oddworld game because we got a teaser trailer for it like a year ago, maybe longer, and it was all CG and it didn't show the game at all. Well, we got a brand new gameplay trailer for it that shows the game. Before you watch it, do you think it's going to be side-scrolling or do you think it's going to be 3D?
I don't care.
Let's roll it.
Faster out! We gotta go faster! Make my day!
So there you go, Matt. It's side-scrolling. Do you think that's the right call?
I don't know. How big of a release is it?
I mean,
a lot of
it's the
side-scrolling.
next Oddworld game.
Yeah, well, what does that even mean?
You know as well as anyone.
Yeah, but
In 2019,
when was the last time?
not a lot.
When was the last time Oddworld
I hate
was
to say
relevant?
it, but
That series kind of peaked with Stranger's Wrath for me, and I don't really
Yeah.
expect it to get back up there again. I mean, there's plenty of side-scrolling indie games these days, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Is Oddworld
oh,
trying
they're
to be,
even higher than that with this game. Absolutely.
but Oddworld's trying to be like a AAA thing, or like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, or at least somewhere kind of in between. Like it's
Yeah.
not going to sell for like $20. It's going to be like closer to 60 than 20, I think.
I don't know.
You can tell they have a lot
You
of
want to talk
marketing
about a
budget.
game that I don't like looking at? It's those games.
No, I agree.
Like,
That's another example of a game that just repulses me, where I just
Yeah,
don't,
I've
the
never,
art
I've
style.
never found them.
Me either.
Not that they're bad games. I've liked
Yeah.
some of them, but like I just find them repulsive. The
Yep.
characters in those games,
I agree.
which might be intentional. I don't know.
Yep.
Although I feel like Abe is supposed to be cute, and he's not.
None of them are. Nothing in that franchise is cute.
I wouldn't think so.
Maybe somebody believes it.
I'm sure there are, there's, I don't know. Somebody does.
It's not guaranteed somewhere.
Somebody out there has a stuffed Abe.
Yeah,
on
it's
the
like you
bed.
see the pictures of the people with the ugliest dogs.
Yeah.
Like they love the dog.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, it's time to thank our sponsor once again, DeShazer Ryan Realty. DeShazer Ryan Realty has been leading Northwest Montana real estate sales for over 30 years. It's family owned and operated with the knowledge to help you find your own unique piece of Montana. Visit www.DeShazerRyanRealty.com and there you will find every property currently listed for sale in Montana. Or call 406-293-7706 and ask for Doug to get the ball rolling. Doug is a sifter, by the way, so you're calling a friend. Enjoy breathtaking mountain views of Montana on 3.5 acres and less than 10 minutes from town. The property borders a county-maintained road with access to tons of wildlife. Its prices sell at $39,900, so give them a call. If you aren't able to relocate to God's country, don't worry, sifters. Doug DeShazer specializes in finding you the perfect real estate agent for the job, no matter where you live. He's facilitated home and land sales in California, Texas, Oregon, Washington, and many other states. Feel free to email Doug with any questions at DeShazerMT@gmail.com. That's DeShazer Ryan Realty at DeShazerRyanRealty.com. Thank you very much for our sponsors for making this episode possible. And now it's time to get to some Q&A. You got one queued up?
Yeah.
Well, let's give thanks first to everybody who subscribed via Twitch Prime. Two Fouls for you, thank you. Justin Horman, thank you for the millionth time that you've done it. We appreciate it. Majora Tom, thank you very much. Thanks to all you guys for subscribing via Twitch Prime.
Veritas.
Oh, Veritas. With the 7, right?
Yes.
Yep. Thanks, Veritas.
W. Matthew, since I know the two of you are big Star Wars gamers, excluding Fallen Order, what is your most anticipated game post E3?
That's a Star Wars game?
He says excluding Fallen Order, so Fallen Order doesn't count.
Oh.
He doesn't want us to pick Fallen Order because it's too easy.
Oh, because he knows we're big Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Our most anticipated game is coming out this year or just in general?
Post E3, I assume that means this year.
Oh, well, jeez, where do you even start?
I mean, for me, if it's coming out this year, it would be Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
But all we have on that is rumors.
Yep.
I
mean, there's so many. Last of Us Part 2, Metroid Prime 4.
Again,
I mean, are we saying like
no? I mean, I
it's
think he
coming out in the
means this
next
year.
12 months or this year?
He means this year, I think.
Well, that Ghost Recon game, if it actually turns out to be what I think it might be, that would be one of them. But it probably won't. So
yeah, good luck. I mean, probably of what's announced that we know of that has an actual date attached to it, probably Pokemon for
Yeah.
me. But I'm very interested in Watch Dogs 3. I'm interested to see how they've reinvented that because I don't think they took as long as they did for nothing.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So I got my, but we'll have to see it at E3 to find out. So I think, but right now of what's actually announced, I think Pokemon.
I have tons. Like Pokemon, I'm excited for that. I'm excited. I would say if I went platform by platform, I'm probably more excited for the Switch lineup for the rest of the year than any other platform, which I'm shocked to say, but I think it's true. Because you have Pokemon, you have Fire Emblem, you have Animal Crossing, you have Luigi's Mansion. It has a really good lineup for the rest of the year. All it's really
Also,
missing
we
is,
know it.
Right, yeah. And it is missing a Mario or a Zelda, though rumors are starting to swirl that Zelda, the remake, is going to come out like next month or something. So,
Oh, the Link's Awakening?
yeah. So,
Well, then there's the Link to the Past that popped up in some store listing
Yeah.
a while ago.
yeah. So Switch has a really good rest of the year, but then there's tons of, like, Gears 5. I'm excited for Gears 5. Like, to me, Gears of War 4 was better than Halo 4.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And so my anticipation is that with Gears 5, it makes the leap that Halo 5 honestly really didn't make. It made it multiplayer, but not really in the campaign. So I have faith that the next Gears is going to make a pretty good jump from Gears 4, and Gears 4 was pretty damn good. It has like an 8.7 Metacritic, so I'm pretty excited for Gears 5, to be honest. And we just kind of got a leak of the box art, and there's rumors that its release date is September 10th. So I'm
That's
pretty excited
early.
for that. It is early. I'm pretty excited for that. I'm excited
Makes
for...
you wonder what like Microsoft's got for the rest of the fall.
Yeah.
They usually have something in November.
It usually... I mean, it has Forza, right?
Yeah.
The next Forza Motorsport. The sim.
I thought they were skipping that.
Are they?
I thought they were skipping a year with that.
I didn't hear that. Yeah. It would be out of character for them to do that, but maybe.
How many of these can you release?
I know. Especially Sims, man. It's like, once you have all the cars and the tracks, like, what else can you do? Maybe that's why you heard that they're going to skip a year. They probably should. But yeah, I'm excited for Gears. I mean, honestly, I think the big X factor for me is like PlayStation.
Yeah. It's like I said, Ghost of Tsushima is
Or if The Last
top
of
the
Us
list.
Part 2 comes out, obviously I'd be excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, I still rank Ghost of Tsushima above Last of Us, but like...
That's a tough one.
But I mean...
For me, they're probably on equal footing for different reasons.
Last of Us could very well be the better game, but Ghost of Tsushima I'm more curious about.
Yeah.
So
I think it's more in your wheelhouse, in
Yeah.
all honesty. But other than that, like, if those games don't come out, like, it's going to be another empty Q4 for PlayStation
Yeah,
exclusives.
I mean, it seems like, they already were tweeting today about Last of Us entering its final phase of production.
Yeah.
It feels like they could release it this year if they wanted to.
I mean, there's been like 3 leaks that is coming out this year in the last 2 months. So, I mean, that doesn't mean it's true, but
I don't think we're seeing
usually
Death
when
Stranding.
there's smoke, there's fire. Not always, but usually.
Like, I don't think we're seeing Death Stranding this year.
No, I don't either.
But Ghost of Tsushima I think, and Last of Us, I think,
Have
are
a
possibilities.
chance, definitely. But other than that, I mean, we are getting to the wind down of the generation here, where this E3 will be telling. This is where you'll see, okay, are publishers going to hold this stuff to make a splash with the next consoles? Because we know they're going to play on both. We know that already. But are they going to hold them to make the splash with the next consoles?
Well, I'll bet we'll just be like what's always happened, and Ubisoft will show something that is just mysteriously really advanced.
And they won't
and
say.
It tells us, here's what things could look like in the future. Yeah. It's like, oh, what hardware could this be on? I don't know.
They do that.
They do that a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft plays this.
Yeah.
Will they go for broke, or will they hold their cards to their chest? Like, you could go either way. An argument could be made either way. I would say, considering the last few years they've had, you probably want to go for broke.
Yeah.
Just to like really, set some fireworks off, because like Microsoft hasn't been able to kind of gain the spotlight at E3 for a long time because they've been overshadowed a lot.
Look, they have to show Halo Infinite. They have to show it.
Yeah, I don't see how you get away without.
Yeah, they have to.
Without doing that. Yeah.
Yep. So
you can't just show Gears and Gears Funko Pop again and call that a day. Like you have to give us some Halo. You have to give us some of the future. Even if you don't show the system or talk too much about the system, you have to give us some stuff that's coming. You have to tell us what all these different developers you bought last year are working on now. Like I think there's some real potential here, and I hope they don't blow it.
Let's see. From Vincent, what would you want to see in the Mario Maker 2 Direct tomorrow to make you interested? Is simplicity good enough in a post-Dreams world?
I mean, I don't need to be shown anyone else to be interested. I like Mario Maker.
He may have directed that one at me.
I think so. Yeah, you were more skeptical about it.
I just don't like 2D platformers anymore, to be perfectly honest. I'm just completely burnt out on them. I've been playing them since Pitfall. Like, I don't know. I just don't get excited for them anymore. I still enjoy playing some of them. Like I enjoyed playing Yoshi's Crafted World. I had fun with that while I played it. But I don't get excited or like anticipate them. So to answer your question, it would have to be a 3D Mario Maker to get me excited about Mario Maker. Like any 2D is just not going to do it. If they gave me the ability to build my own Super Mario 64 or my own Super Mario Galaxy, I'm there.
I mean, I think his point is valid. Like, I think Dreams makes the argument that you could make that game now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, Dreams proves that you can do a 3D game maker that people can really work with very powerful tool sets.
Did you see the guy remaking Metal Gear Solid in Dreams?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
You got a perfect 10?
What did?
Dreams.
No.
From
someone reviewed it?
Somebody reviewed it. Was it Eurogamer?
Wow.
You got a perfect 10 from like a crazy play.
Whoa, that's good for your fantasy team.
Oh, yeah, it is on my fantasy. I think it's an alternate, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it's
remember.
on your starting team.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think you took it. That's great for you.
That's
I'm
true.
surprised.
I didn't think of that.
That's awesome. Let's see. Let's get a couple more in before we head out.
Official PlayStation Magazine UK.
Oh, well.
Well, not quite as impressive, but still.
Definitely nowhere near as impressive.
I knew it was in Europe.
Yeah, you got that part right.
I got the hemisphere right.
Don Lionheart apparently showed up a little late. He's asking us about the Apple question. We actually talk about that on the show, and people gave us crap for it because it wasn't game related and we didn't know what we were talking about. So have fun with that one. Is this Glorious War? With Sony working on many different IP holders, e.g. Iron Man and Predator, what IP holder should they work with next? I would like Guerrilla Games to work on a fantasy IP, maybe a Wheel of Time game.
Well, Guerrilla Games is going to be making Horizon games for about the next 10 years.
Yeah,
so.
They're already working on the sequel for that, so they're definitely not going to be...
No. Like IPs, I wouldn't mind seeing given the Sony treatment. I mean, Wheel of Time's not a bad choice. I never got through many of those books, but...
Game of Thrones!
Well, Game of Thrones is over.
It doesn't matter. I'll still play a Game of Thrones. Give me a AAA, big-budget Game of Thrones game. I'm all over it. All over it. And
you keep doing that, they're going to announce Dynasty Warriors, Game of Thrones.
I would play that still, sadly.
Yeah.
I would cry while I was playing it, but I would play it.
Jon Snow's going to have huge anime eyes.
I mean, that's the most obvious answer. Like, why is there not a big-budget AAA.
Oh no, I don't think that's what Shane wants.
Game of Thrones
Shane
game.
does not want a From Software Game of Thrones game. That's not.
that
would be some kind of existential
crying
torture.
while playing right there.
That's like it's like if you die and go to hell. That's what your hell is. You're gonna play the Game of Thrones
because
game.
I would want to like it.
And it was
so
made by
much.
Miyazaki in a terrible mood.
That's funny. Let's see.
You can't see your stamina bar. It's just hidden, but it's there.
We'll finish it off with Joaquin Dragoon. Any Final Fantasy game that you have enjoyed playing?
I like 6 and 12 very much. And while I hated 13, I thought 13-2 was okay.
Okay.
But I like time travel nonsense. And that was all 13-2 was.
I like all the 2D Final Fantasies, all of them. And then
Even 3? Like the 3-3?
I mean, that's low, but still I liked it.
Like the one that didn't... 3 was hard for me because like 2 and 3 were hard because they didn't come here until so much later.
Right. Yeah.
And like they were all they're kind of archaic by then.
Yeah.
Like, but I could see like, where the...
I still enjoyed them.
For a long time, I liked 5 a lot. 5 was one of my favorites for a long time. And then there's a point at which it just became too tedious for me. But I think 6 is the second best RPG on the Super Nintendo, the best being Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
And I would actually argue that Square has never surpassed Chrono Trigger in terms of RPGs.
I think there's other people who would agree with you on that.
I don't think that's a super controversial opinion.
Yeah.
But Chrono Trigger is better than any Final Fantasy in my book.
I also liked 8 and 9.
I like 9. I think 8 is really stupid, but I did enjoy it.
I liked both of them. And then
I
that might be it for me.
I thought 8 had good spectacle to it for the time.
Yeah.
10,
Well, the 3D ones, like, I haven't really liked any of them.
10 was the first Final Fantasy I didn't finish because I just
It was also gigantic.
stopped caring at a certain point. I really like 12, even though it's very different from the normal series. But 12 is probably my second favorite game in the series.
Wow.
I liked how they brought it into the kind of the MMO style stuff. I like that it's basically a remake of Star Wars. I like that it's an Ivalice. I love the Ivalice stuff. It's a shame they didn't let that team continue to exist, let alone make more Final Fantasy games.
Oh, does Tactics count?
No, I mean it could, but I don't like that game very much.
Really?
Even though it is Ivalice.
Wow. I'm surprised you're the first person I met that doesn't like it.
I was a Shining Force and Fire Emblem fan, and like I don't find Tactics interesting at all. I like Final Fantasy Tactics. I like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I like that.
Did they tweak some stuff for it?
Yeah, they're bigger groups and like it felt better, like the way.
I never even played the GBA version.
But the original PlayStation 1 game, there's only 5 characters. It felt like really small. I didn't, it was hard to find 4 squares next to each other. The computer agreed were really next to each other. Like the terrain level thing, I thought was annoying most of the time. There was like the weird things where like there's just elements of the game that didn't make any sense. Like, you can ride a chocobo. Okay, well, I've just annihilated a fifth of my total firepower by replacing a character with a frickin' bird. Like, what am I doing that for? And for me, I just prefer the turn-based strategy RPG stuff. I prefer a larger army. Like Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem and Shining Force are always my picks on that. So it just didn't do anything for me. I did think Final Fantasy Tactics has an excellent story for what it is.
Yeah.
Kind of an epic, like, almost Game of Thrones-esque in terms of how political it is.
Yeah.
And it has extraordinary music.
Yeah. It's a good game.
Yeah, but like Final Fantasy, I'm not a huge fan of the series. I think 6 is the
either.
best.
Like,
12 every 6 games they knock it out of the park for me. I'm waiting
wait for 18.
Final Fantasy 18 going to be great, man. I hate 15. I haven't played the MMOs. I also don't think the MMOs should be numbered, but that's just me.
Hey, Joaquin Dragoon, I think you just gave us bits. Thank you. They look like Christmas trees, but I think they're bits. And he gave us dogs, too. So I guess you can replace the bits with other icons. Thank you, man. We really appreciate it. And that's it. That's going to do it for GameFace episode 168. Like I said, look on our Patreon the next couple days. We're going to be doing a Loot Crate box drawing in the next couple days. And again, there's going to be 2 more winners this month. So good luck to you guys with that. E3 is right around the corner. We're going to start doing our E3 previews starting next week. We're going to go publisher by publisher and get you primed and ready for the show. And I think that's it. Mm-hmm. Next week might be tough.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because we're in
what's
like the
happening.
grace period now until E3, where like nothing of consequence is coming out. I will definitely bring Rage back next week to talk about that a little bit after Matt's had more of a chance to.
We can only
do
hope
his
that
thing.
Randy Pitchford does something else crazy.
Yep. That's absolutely right. So thanks to everybody who's on the stream. Thanks for the bits. Thanks for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. We really appreciate it. Have yourself a great night. GameFace is up and out.